But I've met people in this life that I knew that as soon as I met them, I knew that I knew them before.
Yeah.
wow.
To me, the life that comes in every time I go into a regression is there's a message that I need to know now.
Like a lot of past lives. I mean, just we're about survival.
Yeah.
And when you're learning a skill, you can feel if you knew it in a past life. Like if
It's true.
It's a different.
Welcome back to Coffee with Psychics. We are the Seer Society. I'm Yola. We have Maureen and Ken, and we have Katie as our producer. She's our production team. And so, what's everybody drinking today?
I'm just having coffee, and gotta love it. Thank God for coffee.
Yay, right?
Just water for me.
Water for you. How about you, Katie?
I'm drinking my smoothie, my usual smoothie.
Okay.
Maureen, you must be really hydrated. You're always drinking water.
I know you're always drinking water.
I'm always thirsty.
Yeah, there you go, right?
High and dry.
Maybe it's because, you're a Scorpio, right? That's a water sign.
Water.
Yeah,
Water's good
I
for you,
guess,
Scorpio.
But also
yeah.
you have your like fiery red thing, so maybe you need more water.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
that's right, balancing that.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking pineapple juice today, kind of drink that a lot. And so, yeah. So, what'd you do do you have a good weekend,
Wait a minute.
Ken?
Was there something floating in your pineapple
There is
juice?
pineapple juice. It's pineapple juice with coconut milk, and
Say what
it's
it
got
is. It's
some.
from
It's
Starbucks.
it's from Starbucks. It's a paradise drink.
Ah.
It's a.
Were there little lumpy things in there?
Yes, it's dehydrated pineapple that's been
Oh, okay,
reconstituted. Yeah, it's like my
I'm
favorite
just
drink.
curious. It looked interesting. That's
Have
all.
you ever
Yeah.
had boba tea?
I have
Ken?
no idea. Yeah.
It's like the tea that some people call it bubble tea because boba tea is like a brand, but it has little balls of tapioca at the
Ooh.
bottom, and so half
wow.
the drink at the bottom is like these tapioca balls.
Huh.
They don't taste like much, but they have like they're chewy, kind of like a chewy candy.
Texture.
Yeah, and then the rest is like a drink, and you get these big fat straws, and it
To be able
sucks
to
up
suck them up.
the bobas.
It's like
Some
frog
people think
eggs.
it's like totally disgusting.
Frog
yeah,
eggs.
It kind
but
of sounds that
some
way.
people
actually.
like it. I had
Yeah.
a friend who would get extra bobas, so like the bobas
Oh,
were like
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
3/4 of the way up, and they don't taste like anything. So I don't know.
Must be very satisfying for some reason.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like pineapple. That's why I get
Yeah.
it with the pineapple. Some people get it without. I
You
prefer
like the
with.
lumps?
Some people say it looks like egg drop soup,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, it
does
tastes
have
different,
egg
right?
drop
I just
soup.
like pineapple, so I get the pineapple in it.
Does it taste like pineapple? Or
Yeah, it is. It's
I've
just
never had
it's
freeze-dried
just
fruit.
it's just dried pineapple.
I guess that's what they put in like Special K is like freeze-dried strawberries.
Yeah, in cereal. Yeah, you're right.
Sounds good.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm sticking with coffee though.
Okay, there you go. So, did you guys have a good weekend? What did you do, Ken?
Mostly just gardened. I like to garden.
Oh, right.
My sunflowers are slowly dying. It's a sad time.
Yeah.
But I go out and threaten them. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you down if you don't. You know.
Yeah.
So.
But they do their big show off time this time of year. They're
Pretty
like,
much,
yeah.
but then they get so big. Nature's so vicious because they get nice and big, then they fall over because they're too
Oh,
big.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
and then
they
the
get
squirrels
top
go
heavy.
lunch.
Yeah,
you know,
lunch.
and so I find pieces of them everywhere. So
I like it though because it attracts in the birds.
oh,
and
I
the
do. I've got
squirrels.
magpies. I've got seagulls. I've got a
Seagulls?
couple
Seagulls, where'd they come from?
of. I think Arizona. No, I don't know. They
Right?
followed this car up. I don't know.
They followed a car
I've heard they
from
have
the
a lot-
desert state,
yeah.
right?
I hear they have a lot in Salt Lake City. I think that's part of the Mormon
Okay.
thing is seagulls. But they
From-
fight.
from- from
They're really loud.
Great Salt Lake, right?
Yeah, and they fight with the magpies. And,
Okay.
And then I have a couple of big hawks that come in and settle everybody down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably really interesting to watch.
Yeah, it is. I have a good time.
Do you
Yeah.
plant food? Do you do any food gardening?
Not much, just the sunflowers. Everybody eats the sunflowers,
Yeah.
except for me.
Yeah.
But no, it was just I just wanted to see a lot of sunflowers. I was born in Kansas, and until you get out of Kansas, they pound sunflower into you. It's really hard to find something to be really excited about in Kansas, and
Sunflowers it.
and sunflowers will fill the bill. So,
Oh, very
you know.
cool.
Have you ever had sunflower seed butter? It's like peanut butter.
I have, yeah, and sunflower seed oil. I've cooked with that quite a bit. Does great fried chicken. So, yeah.
I've had sunflowers, sun butter, I guess they call it.
Yes, you didn't like it.
I
huh?
did not like it. It was just a little too. Well, I'm used to peanut butter, and I don't even
Yeah,
like
there's
peanut butter
no
that
sweet
much.
in it at all.
Yeah, that's
It's-
it. There's no sweet. Right. Even almond butter has a little.
Yeah, a little something.
Yeah, a little something.
No, the flavor's pretty hard.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Do
How
you
about you,
plant
Katie?
winter
Sorry.
vegetables? I was gonna ask Maureen. I know Maureen has this great food garden. Your backyard's so great.
Well, the hoppers ate it this year.
The little grasshopper.
There's
It's a
terrible,
huge
terrible
grasshopper.
grasshoppers. So we got chickens, but we got peeps. So they have to grow into the chicken, the adult chicken, and they're just working on that. But we've given up on the garden because it's just like terrible. I mean, it's
Not even
horrible.
try.
Oh, it's like biblical. It's gone. So we let the chickens out kind of at dusk or just before dusk. And they just have a ball eating the grasshoppers. So there's hardly any grasshoppers back there now.
Oh, good.
And they're all in the front yard. So they've eaten everything else, in the front yard. And, you go to grab a handle on a gate, and there's a grasshopper. They're very, they're reptilian. They're,
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah,
I mean,
do not like
what is their
grasshoppers.
purpose, and how do you get rid of them for next year? Because I am done with these guys.
How do they breed this
You
fast?
never know
I don't
what they're
know.
gonna do. They fly and hit you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Every time I see one, it's another one stacked on top. They're making
Yes,
little
yeah,
grasshoppers.
there you
That's
go.
right.
I'm
That's
going,
right.
what is this?
I have a photo of that. I have that. Yeah.
Of course.
It's
You
fascinating.
pervert.
Yeah, I know,
I'm like,
exactly. It's a
I don't know,
very
what
special
are they
website.
doing? What are those little monkeys doing?
That's funny.
They work
But
in some
they're
iguanas now
very
and then.
smart. If they know they're going to
Yes.
get eaten in the
Yeah.
backyard by the chickens, they
Yeah.
move to the front yard.
Yeah, my son thinks they
Right?
communicated. Once we got the
They
chickens,
probably do. I
yeah,
mean,
Yeah, they
there's
said,
some
"Let's go
kind,
front,"
Yeah, some kind of communication because
Yeah.
there's not as many back there.
Right.
And there's, how many there. You've been in my house. You know how many are in the front
I
yard. It's
bet
terrible.
if you, I know you can't do it, but if you were able to bring the chickens to the front yard, they'd go to the
Yeah.
neighbor's
Yeah.
house.
Exactly. We were thinking of that.
But they mess up with leashes so
Oh yeah,
bad.
they don't work with. I was thinking a leash, right?
Maureen, didn't you tell a story of someone who had a chicken on a leash? Was that you?
It wasn't me, but there is a story about Mike the Headless Chicken from Fruta, Colorado.
What is that?
I don't know. It's an old story, but it's
Oh, I've
true.
heard,
Oh,
I've
we
heard
should
this
look
one.
that up.
This
Headless
is an old
chicken.
folk tale that every culture
They
has
had a
this story.
picture. No, they had a
No,
picture.
I
It
mean
was real.
they really exist all the time.
Yeah.
Most people, when you got a chicken, it was because you killed it, not because someone else killed it.
Yeah.
And the way you killed it was by chopping its
Yeah,
head off with an
yeah.
axe. Apparently, there's very little up here in a chicken brain because you can cut their head off and they're just fine.
still
They
go
walk
running
around. They don't know how to eat anymore, but they don't know they don't have a head.
It's a
How will they
story.
do
It's a
that?
story. I don't know. You have to look it up, but it's a true story.
We will look that up.
I used to have, like, in my little house, little cottage, I used to put newspaper clippings of funny stories, and
Yeah,
that was
that's
one
a
of
good
them.
one. That's a
Oh,
good
wow.
one.
Disappeared, though. My son moved in, so I don't know what happened to those
Yeah.
things. But, yeah, it's a true story. It's fascinating. It's
Very
amazing.
cool.
Well, how are your little chickens?
They're great. They're getting bigger and
Henrietta's the
bigger.
big one, right?
Henrietta is not she's not real bright. She's
And she's the big giant
she's a
one.
big girl. She's
Oh,
growing into her feet. Her feet look like
Oh
little
yeah,
dinosaur
yeah.
feet.
Yeah, they
I'm
did.
telling you,
It's been a while since we've seen them. I can't
you're
wait
going to be
see.
surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
how
they
much they've
move
grown.
like dinosaurs. I mean, it's
Right.
just
They're like-
whoever made the movie made it perfect
Right.
Oh,
because they
God.
move just like them. It's great.
Yeah.
And little Lulu Lavender, she's the boss. She's bossy. She's
Oh, how
pushy,
funny!
bossy.
They have
And
their
she's little,
personalities.
too.
Yeah, she's very bossy. She's beautiful. She
Yeah.
knows she's beautiful. That's the problem. She
Yeah.
knows she's a beautiful chicken. So she's like, I'm
Bossing them around.
taking my position now. Yeah,
Aw.
she's cool though.
And you have 5 of them?
We have
Or
six.
Six.
Okay.
Okay.
Of them. Yeah. Yeah.
As long as they behave
You
themselves.
have
Right, for now.
Thelma and Louise also. Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and Louise, they don't even look like chickens. They look like owl hawks
Oh,
or
they're the
something.
owl-
They're
they
very
look
Oh
like
yeah,
owls.
they
Right,
look
right.
so cool though.
They
I
look
mean,
like
they're
ground
cool.
owls.
they look like those
Right.
Arizona. I've seen those in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
And
so
very
cute.
odd.
Yeah.
But they're very smart. One of them, it's like really, they listen to you. They look at you when you're talking. you know.
Oh,
And they love Mike. I mean, they just love
Yeah.
my son. They're like, he's the chicken whisperer.
that's so
Yeah.
cool.
And they know it, and they love him. And yeah, so we probably won't get eggs till the spring because they're still, we're getting ready to insulate the house,
ready
the
to
hen
get
it.
house. Yeah. And we bought insulation already, so we're going to do that. And then we bought some more coverings for the snow. We'll see what happens.
Aw,
I've never had
how
chickens in
cool.
the snow, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it doesn't snow that often, so.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's
Yeah,
usually
and that's
warm
what they
during
make
the day.
down coats out of. So
Yeah, all those fluff,
We're
they'll
not
fluff
doing that.
themselves.
Oh, yeah, well,
No,
the
they'll
fluff,
fluff
yeah.
their feathers
Yeah,
out.
that's true.
We're not
That's true.
doing that.
Yeah, nobody goes
What are you
out.
thinking?
Choking my chickens? No. Anyway.
That's
Well,
funny. That is funny.
Maureen, you were telling us this super interesting thing before we started the podcast. And so, can you tell it again for
Yeah,
everyone?
it was, of course, we all go on our computers in the morning, and just, because my family's from Great Britain, I pay attention to what's going on with with the royalty and the queen. And so they've put her under, like under doctor's care or hospital care, like a more intense, they're watching her more. So a couple months ago, I'd had this dream that we know she's going to pass because she's quite elderly and she's doing the best she can, but this dream I had where she goes suddenly, unexpectedly, even though you expect it, it's unexpected.
It's still fast.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's quick. They're like, oh, and she's gone. And she's
Yeah.
gone. And then in that same dream, there were 2 black dogs. And I know there's symbolism for black dogs. You probably know more
You're
about
like a
that.
death omen.
Yeah, but they were fighting. So 2 black dogs, big dogs, were fighting. So I'm thinking, are those the people that want to take over? Is one of them are they her 2 sons? Are there somebody in power, that wants to take over? I don't know. So that's the dream I got.
Maybe
Yeah.
even like Parliament or whatever they have fighting with the royalty for
Something,
power.
Right.
Or something.
something.
Like
And there's
that.
also I know where I don't know what they call it, but where the people that really want the royal family there, and there's a people
Yes,
that don't.
that's
They
true.
want to kind of abolish that
War
or
of
make it
succession, yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
So it
yeah.
could be like those 2 things.
Yeah,
It
I
could
don't
be
know.
anything like that.
But were
Yeah.
you saying, Maureen, also, like, I know you had that dream a couple months ago, but
Mhm.
you also had a psychic hit, like,
when
This
you saw
morning.
when you
This
saw
morning.
Yeah, when
the
I saw
picture.
her this morning, I could tell she's not going to be here much longer. I could
It's
just
gonna
see
be
it.
fast.
It's like you can see it in her face. And I know, of course they're preparing for it and all that. But,
Right.
when I looked at her, I knew. I'm
it
like,
just
it's
came
not going to be
like,
much longer. Yeah,
intuitively.
I think it'll be pretty quick. So that was my hit for today. Yeah.
That's sad.
It is sad. I mean,
But
she.
even though you know,
It's like the
Yeah,
end of
it's
an era.
always
Right.
sad. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, no, when you lose a loved one, it's always sad.
it
Doesn't
always
matter.
is, no matter what. Even if you've been,
Even if you expect it, and they're
Right.
expecting this.
Right.
Have for a long time.
But
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
not just a family. This is not even just their country.
This is almost
It's a
the
common.
world.
It is the world. It is the world. She's
It
been
is.
there for what,
Yeah.
like 70 years
Well,
now.
and they ruled the world for quite a while, too.
Yeah, they had a lot. Yeah, but I mean, she took over. Of course, she was the queen when her father
Right.
died. When her
Right.
father died, boom, there she
Right
was.
at the
you know.
war, too.
Right.
Yeah,
Boom.
right. Yeah, and she did a great job.
She
you know.
jumped into it. There's pictures of her then, the videos of her being crowned or being presented, and she is so glistening, glowing with energy that it's.
Yeah.
There's another picture I've seen. The only time I've seen it other times is when I saw Judy Garland sing for the Academy Awards. She was somewhere over the rainbow, and she had that same.
That same glow.
Yeah.
No,
it was
presence. She
Yeah.
has quite a
just
presence.
amazing.
But
Just
can you imagine
transcendent.
being a young girl and your dad dies and then you have
No,
to take over?
no.
a
I know.
country?
Take
That's
over
amazing.
all of that, right?
Can't begin to be able to
Amazing.
understand that.
Yeah,
Right.
she's an amazing lady.
Yeah,
Right.
she is.
Can you tell that what you were saying also about the astrologer you follow?
All right, so there's an astrologer that I follow. I'm not going to give his name because I don't think he'd want that for this, but he said that one time I was listening to one of his webinars, and he was saying that he felt like Prince Harry was going to he was going to be the king when he was about 45, and I believe he's like 37 now, so I think this video was a couple years old, because he said in 10 years, about 10 years. And so I actually had a chance to talk to him, and I asked him that question, and I said, I didn't hear the whole thing to where you said why, but I was curious why. And he said, oh, it's because his chart is very similar to the Queen's. And then I wanted to ask more questions, but my time was up, and he didn't really want to get into it. He said, I'm not going to go there. I'm just not going to go there.
Yeah, but why? Say why? Because people got mad when he said
People
that.
got mad. People were very upset with him when he said that, and he said, so I don't talk about it anymore.
Okay.
But that is what he's reading
That's
from
what
the
he's
charts.
reading. That's what he's reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his intuitive sense. But he's more of a reader. He's like divination, like we talked about last time, divination versus psychic. He's very much about divination. He knows astrology so well. So he saw this
So he saw
in the
that
chart.
trend, or he just saw that, like, there's something there.
There's
that
something.
Made him realize,
yeah, and then he probably pulled up
And it's probably the timing, because
predicted
there's a lot of
transits.
timing.
Yeah, the timing,
stuff.
all
Yeah.
of this stuff, right?
I got a bunch on this.
Yeah.
Which is the brother that messed with Epstein?
No, those are those are the dads and the uncles. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ones who are in line are the brothers or the sons.
But neither one of the brothers had anything to do with Epstein.
No.
No.
Okay.
Not the sons.
There's something about that, though, and believe it or not, I love to use as many characters as possible. Putin knows something about the one brother, the one uncle, whatever he was, that played around with Epstein. And he has enough garbage there to blow the family apart, the royal family.
I hope
Wow.
not. I
And-
hope he wouldn't do that.
And,
Yeah.
well,
Blowing other people apart in Ukraine. I hope he doesn't do
the
that.
threat to do that is the power. And his threat to do that to America, because believe it or not, the Queen runs a lot of America, and I mean business-wise and politically and everything. And to me, Putin has an angle here that he's going to try to. He is trying to influence what's going on there, and it's just history. Putin did all the digging; he knows everything. About what happened with Jeffrey Epstein and the royal family.
All that history.
Very
There's a
interesting.
lot.
There's a lot
of
there.
Well, he also knows about, though, what's the daughter, the ones that are living in this country.
Meghan Markle and Harry.
Yeah.
He knows stuff about her and her family
Right.
that would destroy her.
Is this stuff you get psychically? This is like intuitively?
That's pretty much, I can just feel politics. It's pretty easy. I mean, it has so much energy moving, and it moves really slowly, and it moves on gossip.
Interesting.
And that's,
Very interesting. That's very,
Very
interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought those hits for today. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what happens. I'm sure we'll follow it in the news.
Yeah.
It'll be easy to
Yeah.
follow.
We'll see what happens.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so Yola, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about past lives, so that's really cool. I'm very
Yeah, it is
excited
cool.
about this.
Yeah.
To me, past lives, I've been regressed probably over 20 times.
Wow.
I lost count. I stopped counting. But to me, the life that comes in every time I go into a regression is there's a message that I need to know now.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I have to it's a puzzle and you have to figure it out. But that's kind of what it is for me. So I think we're just going to jump into this. Everybody has stories of lives,
Yeah.
you know, where,
Yeah, we all do.
you know.
Well, first I want to talk about, because a lot of people, they don't know a lot about the subject of past lives.
Okay.
You know, if you've never experienced a past life, or you don't believe in reincarnation, it might be like, this is
What
like
are you
totally
talking about? You're all
like, what
crazy.
is this?
You're crazy.
It's much easier to go
Well, we are
that route.
crazy. So
It's easier to not know.
there's like lots of different beliefs around like
Right.
reincarnation and past lives. But the way I've kind of learned it for myself is that, and I think this lines up with a lot of religions, they just say it in different ways. But you are, with every life, you're trying to learn different lessons, work out karma that you maybe built up from your past lives, work out the kinks, learn more lessons, until you reach this like,
Is it nirvana?
this oneness. Like, you know, you've
Yeah.
learned, you're complete.
Also, I think you choose to come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think you have to.
Yeah, it's not like
Well,
I don't think,
right.
I think free will is like ultimately
Absolutely.
like an ultimate
Yeah, you're
thing
not
you
forced
have.
to come back.
No.
Yeah.
And Michael Newton
He's an author.
He's an author. He was
Well,
a
he's a
psychologist or psychiatrist, I'm not sure. He's no longer alive, but he was doing regressions with
Wonder what he's got to say now.
right.
No.
Right now that he's on the other
point.
side, I wonder what he's you're
We
right.
could try to contact him.
We could.
Yeah. Good idea.
But yeah, he's written many books and they're all case studies, the ones that I've
I
listened
think I have
to
some
them
of his
all. They're
books.
great.
Yeah.
But he goes into not just past lives, but the between lives, like what happens
He calls
between
it
lives.
life between lives.
Life between lives, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Can I
like,
tell his
yeah.
history a little bit really quick?
Absolutely.
He's really, really fascinating because he was doing regressions. I'm not going to have the exact decade, but it was like really early to be doing hypnosis. He was like the 40s or something,
Oh wow!
right? So
it was a long time.
it was a
ago.
long time ago because he was doing it when he was very young. But he got into this really young, and he started doing hypnosis. And he was just doing regular hypnosis, like to go back to your childhood to get rid of trauma. And
Right.
that was totally radical then. So it was like he had to do it like low key. But he was doing it, and he only happened to accidentally stumble onto past lives.
Yeah, I know.
And he didn't know what was going on, and he's a skeptical guy, but it had to hit him in the face, like you always say.
So did it come up as these people were going?
Yeah,
So it just came up.
He accidentally, he basically took them so far into the hypnosis that then they were accessing past lives, because he would be trying to get them back to they're a kid, but then they would be like,
they went past
oh,
it.
I'm in Paris, and they'd be like, it's like 1803.
That's cool.
And
Yeah,
then
cool. I love it.
when he was doing that for a while, and he started gathering, so all of it was like gathered, really, really good gathered data, and then he accidentally one time discovered Life Between Lives, where he was able to regress people into the time where they were like coming back from their old life and then like basically choosing a new life.
Right.
And so there's the Michael Newton Institute, and they teach this now. And so there's lots of people who are certified to do
Between lives.
Life Between Lives.
Right.
And Yola actually got one. We went to this woman, Lee Mitchell, who does past life regressions and life between life regressions. I just got a past life regression because I'd never been regressed before, and they want you to be regressed first. But my mom got a life between lives reading.
Yeah. And there's also, we'll get back to that, but I also want to say Brian Weiss. He kind of found it in the same way. He's I don't know if he's psychiatrist or psychologist, but same deal. And he was doing regressions. And
oh, sorry, the phone's going off. Just give us 1 second.
yeah. Anyway,
I thought we turned it off. but I
he
guess we
was
didn't.
he stumbled into this as well, and he got into this. So now he is still alive, and he does regressions. He does seminars.
Who was that?
Brian Weiss.
Brian Weiss.
I know he goes to the Omega Institute in New York to do this, and he goes other places. And I've seen him on all kinds of things, watching him do this. I've been in one of his online regressions. That's really cool. He'll do like a whole group of people that, and there's lots of people to do this. I know somebody else, her name is Mira Kelly. I think she learned from him on how to do this, and I've been regressed by her in a seminar.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
But
It's part of that Silva too.
yeah, it's
Part of the Silva method.
part of the Silva method. Yeah, it's just wonderful. I think it's just awesome. I became fascinated with this probably about 15 years ago. Everything's about 15 years ago for me because it's like, boom, time to wake up. We're going to throw this all at you. You got to learn astrology. You got to learn the psychic stuff. You got to learn regression stuff. You have to learn healing. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Right. So all of it is coming at once.
How did you first discover past lives yourself? Did you know about past lives, or did you accidentally regress yourself or something?
No, the first time I got regressed into past life, I was going to a hypnotherapist. I was just wanted to like I said, it was time knocking on the door, time to wake up to all this, and some childhood trauma was coming up, and I was like, oh, I don't want to kind of go on this really long 20-year route of dealing with figuring it out. I did not want to go talk therapy for me, so I was like, I'm going the fast way. And I talked about it last time. I went to this one reader who did the thing where you ask the question with your dominant hand, write it out, and then you write the answer with your non-dominant
What is that
hand.
called?
Well, it was automatic writing.
Automatic writing.
Yeah, but that's how you did it, dominant, non-dominant for the answers. And I did that for, I don't know, like however long she told me to do it. Oops. And then I was like, okay, well, that was fun. Now I want to go further. And so I found a hypnotherapist, and I actually called a bunch of them and interviewed them. I was just like, so this is what I want. I want to go to childhood trauma, and I want to go to past lives because I guess I'd heard about it, and it just fascinated me. So a bunch of them were like, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. So I found one. Her name is Amy Weinstein. She's she lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I went to her, and we did about 3 sessions. And then we went it all, and then we were talking about the past lives, and I was like, well, can you regress me? And she's like, yeah, I can do that.
Wow.
I was like, okay. So we set up an appointment, and I did that. That was the first time.
Do you remember what you saw that time?
I believe I went to 3 lives in that, because that's typically how they do that. They do one, then another, then another. That one, I do remember the first life I went to, and actually that one I've been to a couple more times, there was a big lesson in that life if I keep going back to that. But what was the life? The life was, I didn't know what it was at the time, because it came up in a healing session. Actually, I was on the table, and my friend was working on me, And she's like, so what'd you experience? I was like, I don't know. It was kind of like a movie, kind of like a dream. I was like on a ship. I had this uniform. I was a man. I had this uniform. And I was like I had one of those funny hats, kind of reminds me of the officers that were like in the Johnny Depp movies, in the Pirates
movie?
And she's like, oh, yeah, you were a French naval officer in like whatever, the French
Wow.
Revolution, right?
Wow.
Was she an intuitive?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And I was like, okay. She said, because you weren't speaking, did you hear? Then I was like, yeah, and I didn't know what language it was. She said, that's what
Wow.
it was. So that was the first time I went there, but it was just this flash. So when I went to this in a past life, it was the same life, but in a regression, they take you to the end of your life. So in that life, my ship had blown up. I was the officer in charge, and a lot of people died. I didn't die, but then it was just so traumatic that I ended up dying alone. Basically, I went to live in this little house by the sea, but I was alone. You know, the townspeople kind of took care of me, but that was it.
What was the lesson?
The lesson was I didn't get it out of that. I didn't know what the lesson was, but I knew it had to come to me. So then I ended up at that life again, and it was about trust, because I didn't trust my intuition, because on that ship I had this hit that we were going to be bombed. That's what
Oh,
happened.
you had an intuitive hit.
I had an intuitive hit that we were going to be bombed.
And you didn't do anything
I
about
didn't
it?
do anything about it. And so we were bombed, right? Our ship got blown up, and that was it. And that's why I kind of went off and lived by myself. I just felt so guilty
Oh,
for the
wow.
whole rest of that life, and that was it. But it was like, trust your intuition.
Well,
And
you
that was the
you said
lesson.
in these regressions, and they've done it for every regression I've had. They've done it, which is they always bring you to the end of your life, and you talk about how you died. I think that's but I'd love to hear your opinion, because at the end of your life, you kind of have this perspective to see what you should have done, what you shouldn't have done, like the lessons you've learned. Do you think that's why they do it?
Partially, yes. Yes, exactly. Because that one was like, who was with you? How did your life end up? Sometimes you're with like a lot of big family, or sometimes you're alone, you know.
I have a question. So when they bring you to the end of your life, do they make it so you're not suffering that?
Oh, you
over?
don't suffer at all.
So you don't have that trauma.
No, you don't have
again?
any kind of trauma. You're
Okay.
just watching. It's like you're on top.
Okay.
It's kind of like astral projection that Ken
Yeah,
talks about a
yeah.
lot. You're just kind of like up above watching
Okay.
it all happen. There's no pain. There's just
Okay.
like, this is go to the last day of your life, and who's with you?
Mhm.
You know.
Michael Newton kind of talks about this too, because he's
Who?
Michael Newton, the man who does all the past
Oh, I
life
haven't read
regressions
that
and
down.
the life between lives. What he talks about, and this might really help people, is that when you're getting towards the end of your life, or maybe it's sudden, like a car accident, or maybe it's like longer, like it's drawn out, you disassociate from your body a lot, and like the universe does that for you. So you don't, a lot of the pain, yes, there's like some pain suffering, but a lot of it you're like disassociating. You're not in your body feeling
Right.
the pain. Your body's feeling the pain, but your soul, you're outside of your body. You're not feeling this. It's like,
Right, and you could be talking to, or communicating, maybe not talking, or it could look like talking to the people on the other side, your soul family. That actually
Yeah.
happened with my mom. I hadn't listened to those books yet, but I was with my mom through like several years of this. But the hospice nurse had told me, and then an astrologer, an intuitive astrologer that I know, had told me kind of what to expect. And she said, so sometimes she might just be staring out the window or staring at the wall or whatever, and you can see she's communicating with somebody, and that's probably she's communicating with the other side, and then it's going to happen more and more and more, because like she's like really
it's a transition.
going, it's a
She's there,
transition
she's
time,
there
and it could
sometimes, yeah.
happen, and like removes herself from the pain or the trauma or whatever she's feeling in this life. She's already like putting herself over there, like getting ready to just go.
I think when we do a podcast on like grief and saying goodbye and dealing with that end of life, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I
Okay,
don't
we
wanna
can get
bring
into
it
that
in.
next time.
I don't want to bring
totally.
it into
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
discussion,
totally.
but
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Okay, well, that's great. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, because you were asking about, do you
The
have
pain.
to
Right.
re-experience?
Do you?
No.
Okay.
I
so
can.
that's good.
I have a
Because then
story
people
about
might
that.
be afraid to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go
Not at
through
all.
that.
I
yeah.
have a story about that. I had this this is actually fascinating. This is something I got from past life regression that people, this is like a huge benefit. I had this horrible nerve pain on my neck on the right side. And it was like, it felt like it was under my skull. So I couldn't massage it. But it was just horrible. I'd have to lay down. It was like my head was too heavy for my body.
Wow.
Well, so I did this past life regression with Lee Mitchell. And I asked her about that. I was like, can you help me heal this? Because a lot of people, if you have like an issue that won't go away, like maybe you have really bad stomach issues, or maybe your knee's always like messed up and like nothing you do like heals your knee, it can be an injury from a past life. And a lot of times doing a regression can help clear the energy out of there, and then your problem will go away. So I had heard about that, and I asked her about this pain in my neck, and she regressed me. And it was this time when I think my husband had axed me, like had hit me in the neck with an axe to kill me, and it was right there. So she was able to go back and see that, and it wasn't scary to experience it. That's why I brought it up. So it's what I could see it, I guess, or know that it happened, but it wasn't like I was feeling it or experiencing it in any way. But my neck pain is gone. That was like a year ago, and it was like an everyday, like really, really chronic thing. I think I've only had neck pain like maybe once, like this whole year. So it's cleared so much energy out, and I think probably if I did it again, I could clear out the rest of it.
And it's just the knowing. Like,
Yeah.
that's not in this life. I don't
Exactly.
need to experience that. That's done. That's gone.
And I
Recognizing
actually,
it.
Yeah.
one time I got a reading with you, Maureen,
Mhm.
and I have these really, really bad stomach issues, and they're
Yes.
kind of go away. But I didn't tell you that. I just met you actually, and you told me there's something with your stomach. It's like you've been hit with like an asteroid, like a comet, like it's burning,
Ball
which
of
is
fire.
which is what I always experience, like
Yeah.
this burning in my stomach. So, and that's healed a lot actually since you brought that up. Now that I think about it, I don't have a lot of that anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes when you just notice the energy,
Yeah, right.
it'll
Just
go.
noticing it.
Yeah.
Right.
I would love to do a regression though and find out. I'm sure it was some kind of like injury, maybe.
Something.
Yeah, and you can
Yeah.
go back to that when you do get regressed. Typically, you can ask a question like, "I want to know whatever it is." Like, I want to go back to the life where I experienced this
Yeah.
to know what that's about. You can kind of pick.
And you can tell, because you did a lot of your regressions by yourself, right?
Yes.
I think the first one you got guided in, which
Yes.
is probably what you'd suggest for people, right?
Oh yeah, definitely with somebody. Definitely
I've
with
never
someone.
done it. I mean, I've had
Oh.
past life dreams. I've had two in particular that were really strong that I know were real.
Mhm.
Can you
But I've-
describe the experience?
Yeah, but I would like to do what you said.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
like to get somebody to
It's
do that.
My mom
Right.
does
Yeah,
hypnosis.
I do
She
that.
can.
I've been
if
here a
either of you want to do
lot.
it, she can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an old soul. I've been here
Yeah.
a lot. Anyway,
How did you know it was a past life? Your dream.
it was totally different. It was like I was there.
Yeah.
And I think I told Ken about it one time when we were going to have a meeting and he came early and we were just chit-chatting. But so I had this dream that I was a child. And the dream opens up where I'm walking through the back. It was a big city. I don't know if it was here or in Europe, but I'm walking beside an old woman, and we're all dressed in winter clothes. And I see my parents in front of me, and I know they're my parents. And, you know, they had like anyway, I'll tell you the rest of it later. But anyway, so the clothes they wore I could date the time, you know, when I look
Oh,
at those
very-
clothes.
yeah.
I knew that it wasn't now. of
Mhm.
course. So I'm walking there, and my grandma's she's a little bit taller than me. So I was about 9 years old in that dream, 9 or 10. So we go up the back of this brick building, and we end up in the back entry of the lobby of this hotel. Beautiful hotel. I could see the carpeting, the oriental carpets, and the bronze elevator doors, and the railings in front of where you register. This is an old hotel. So the mother is up there trying to get a deal on the room. And
Your mother.
yeah, the mother
that
in
life.
the dream.
Okay.
Yeah. And the grandma takes me by the hand and takes me over to a desk. And it was a hanging desk, so there were no legs. It was just hanging on
it's
the wall. And there was a real inkwell with ink, and there were courtesy postcards. These postcards were beautiful. They were like red embossed peonies with gold. And she pulls one out of the thing, and she picks up the pen, and my chin is resting on the desk, and I'm watching her, and she starts writing. And she writes January 14th, 1921.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so cool.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh
I
my
got
God.
chills just telling
How
you.
Yeah.
interesting that she wrote the date
And
in
I
your
felt
dream.
like there was an explosion in
Yeah.
my body, and I came back, and I woke up, and that was it. So
Wow.
Very cool.
I was like, ooh.
And I'm
wow.
sorry, I may have missed. I know I have goosebumps.
Yeah, I have
I'm
goosebumps all
sorry,
over.
I may have missed this, but where were you? Could you tell where you were?
I don't know where I was. I mean, my family's from Europe, so maybe I was doing a past life from Europe. I don't know.
It
I don't
didn't
know.
look European, or
It was old. All I know
It's
it's old.
probably
And
like-
it was brick and wood and just
Wow.
but we came in the back way, which I thought was kind of unusual. But I'm assuming we were like working class. We weren't the ones that arrived with the
oh,
in the 20s. I don't know, what would you arrive in? You probably didn't have a car then.
know, like a
people
Yeah.
didn't have cars.
horse and buggy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not quite, but
Not quite.
yeah, it was like it was weird.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I will never forget that. And then I had another dream, and everybody thinks, oh, I had a past life in Egypt. Well, I think I did.
I think.
Oh, I have,
I mean,
definitely.
Egypt's like such an old culture
Right.
that it wouldn't be. Every old soul has
Right.
had
Oh.
lives in Egypt.
This dream was I was very wealthy. I was dying, and I had a veil over my face, and I could see servants. I knew they were servants because I was in my own quarters, and I knew I was taken care of. I knew I was loved. I knew I had money, and they were walking back and forth, and I had this veil over my face, and I had like a goiter. I had this huge goiter on my neck.
What's a goiter?
It's something you get from
Thyroid.
Your
not. It's a
right?
thyroid. Yeah,
it's
it's a thyroid
thing.
condition.
It's like a bump, or it's like a.
And they
bump.
add iodine to salt now so that people don't get
Oh
those.
yeah.
But I mean, I knew that was going to kill me. I knew I was dying.
But you're covered.
yeah, I
right
was
with the
covered. But I
veil.
was covered with the veil to
Yeah.
camouflage. But I knew they respected me. I knew all that. And then I picked up a mirror, and it wasn't a mirror. It was a mirror, but it was polished metal.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was copper or
Ah.
bronze or whatever metal they had at the time. And I picked it up and I looked and I pulled it aside and I could see that. And I knew that was going to kill me. But I knew I was going to be okay because they were going to take care of me.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
you woke up.
hmm
What did you feel like that message was relevant to you at the moment? Like, why did you get it right
I
then?
was in my 20s then. I don't really know. But as you talk about why do you have these past life revelations in a way, what's the purpose of them, right?
Right.
So if I think about that, it's like maybe to value myself more, respect myself more,
Oh,
understand that I'm worthy of being
You're worthy,
loved,
right.
Right? That
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
you're
thing.
worthy of being
I've
taken
always
care
had-
of.
You're worthy of being taken care of,
I
loved.
or
always
worthy
had
of all of
trouble
that.
with that because I had
Oh.
a tough childhood. So
Yeah, sometimes it's like a puzzle. You have
Yeah,
to figure it
yeah.
out.
And then the one where I was a kid, I don't know what that was.
When did you have that one?
They're all in my 20s, and
They were in
that's
your
when I was having the precognitive dreams, and
Oh, and a lot was coming
something
through.
was going on in my
And that
head.
She was
could have
doing a lot
been
more
right.
psychedelics.
Oh
than
yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's right. And it could have been just to let you know that this is real. You
Oh,
know,
it was-
trust this,
Yeah, they could
this
have
is
been
real.
flooding you. The
Yeah,
universe would be
flooding
flooding
with
I
you
was
with-
flooded
this is
with
real.
information, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
make you believe.
So, and I also had a dream when I was a kid, or a vision, I don't even know which it was, but of running away into a forest and being shot in the back.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And I have these 2 birthmarks on my back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it shot with a bullet or shot with
Yeah,
like an arrow?
No, a bullet. No, it was a bullet.
And you were a kid in that dream?
In the dream, I was young. I was very young, and I was
Tough,
running,
tough times for a kid.
running, and these were
Wow.
a huge forest, and I was just like running, bam, and I got
And you
shot.
have birthmarks there?
Yeah, and I remember telling my mother that, and she goes, "Oh, honey, you're just tired."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, both
She never-
they always
she never-
say.
Very
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, she didn't want to deal with this. I
Did
got
you-
dishes to do.
Right, right. Do you have pain? Have you ever had pain?
Not
No?
really. Not
Well,
really,
that's good. That's
but they
good.
don't-
But you have right. But you have birthmarks,
by
which
birthmarks,
is very
they don't
interesting.
go away. They're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very
Well,
interesting.
So we were in a crystal shop. After we met the other day for lunch, my mom and I stopped by this crystal shop. Well, it's a metaphysical store, and
It was or it wasn't.
it was a metaphysical
okay.
store. Yeah. So I overheard this person talking about past lives to the storekeeper, and it was really interesting because I hear this objection all the time, and they were like, I don't want to explore past lives because I have enough lessons from this life I need to learn. Like, I can't, that's overwhelming. I can't take on more.
Yeah.
But what I think people should know is that actually the lessons are always relevant. So like what
Right.
comes through when you do a past life regression actually helps you understand and learn a lesson in this life. Like,
You don't have to go looking for the lesson, though. It'll come and hit you. in the
yeah,
head.
it's like right there. It's kind of like when you ask for information or you say, I want to heal this, the universe
Sure.
Gives it to
gives
you.
you.
Good point. Yeah.
It's just
Good
most people
point.
aren't asking.
Be careful what
Yeah.
you ask for.
And it's okay to ask.
And
Yeah, it's okay to ask.
Absolutely.
I had this when I did it with Lee Mitchell. I had a past life where I was this girl, and we all probably understand this even in this life. You guys will really relate to this, of course. I was somewhere in Europe. I can't remember exactly, but I was a kid, and I was like a witch, sort of like a sorceress, and plus like an herbal kind of person. So I was being taught by this magic school, sort of, or these people that taught very few people, like an apprenticeship. And they were teaching me ways to like kind of what you teach, Ken, like enhance your energy.
Yeah,
Like
this is almost exactly. I got to bring you a book. Ingo Swann has this story of a girl that was going through what you're talking about.
oh wow,
I'll bring it to you. I'll
yeah,
bring it
I
to
would
you.
love that. So yeah, so I was a kid. Anyways, I went to the end. So I was like, but I was really alone, like because I was just this kid alone in this like learning from these adults.
They
And
probably saw your your ability, your what you could do, and they said, okay, we're going to take you from the family and train you.
I got to the end of my life, and basically I was alone. And I was with my cat, and actually I recognized my cat from one of my cats from this
Oh,
life.
that's
It was my
cool.
cat
Aw,
Stormy.
cool.
I could just
So
tell it was
cool.
her, and she was
Oh,
with me.
sweet.
And I had all these little animal friends. I had lots of cats and like lots of birds, which is what I do in this life. I have like lots of animal friends, but not a lot of real friends. And the message was like, don't self-isolate, because I thought like everyone hated me because I was like a weirdo, but like I wasn't the town pariah. I sort of made myself the town pariah by like self-isolating, and it was like, don't self-isolate. So it was like really useful for the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was self-isolating a lot at that. Well, I probably still do. I'm probably still working on that, but at least I have the lesson.
Right. Very interesting.
Every past life, like when can you talk about, or you both can talk about the person at the fair? I don't know his name, but he does the automatic writing, or no, he does the method.
Oh, yes. He does the Edgar Casey
Oh.
method.
What's
Right,
his
right.
name?
His name,
Robert Blond.
Robert Blond. Yeah, he does
Yeah.
that in the Denver area.
He's been there for years. and
Yeah,
years
but
and
he
years.
just kind of goes into trance and does the Edgar Casey method.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
the Edgar Casey method?
It's where he goes into a trance and he just basically tells you what you do, who you were,
Yeah,
where
who
it
you were.
was, what your life was, and how old you lived to be. Like if you had siblings, if you were a man or a woman, where you were, what area of the world you were, what you were doing like for a living.
Just a full psychic reading.
And
I had
yeah.
mine. Did you have yours done with him?
Yes, I've
Yeah.
had many done with him actually. I've had a bunch
one.
of different
What did you get,
patient
Maureen?
lives.
Well, he was doing it at the First Spiritual Science Church in Denver, and so I had one with him, and it was very different than other readings. It was really interesting. He told me I'd had a life in Amsterdam, and of course, where they grow tulips.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess. So
Yeah.
I was like, I was in that business, and I had a very strict father who I wanted to get away from, and he said I actually came to this country in that life.
Oh wow, to America.
Yeah, and I don't know. He told me when I was in my 50s or something. Maybe I died when I was in my 50s. I don't know, something like that. But it was like for the time, it would have been very adventurous or risky for a woman to do what I was doing.
Oh, to
like
leave to America
getting
alone.
married, divorce. Because I married somebody who was very much like the strict father, and I divorced him, and I came to this country, and and then I guess I died here. I don't know, but in my 50s, so it was interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have was it relevant to you at the time?
Well, I did have a strict dad in this life. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the last time I went to, because Maureen does these, if you've never been to one, it's sort of like a metaphysical fair. And so there's psychics there, there's tarot readers, there's
energy
healers.
workers,
And so you can go, it's like 3 days long, and you can go experience like lots of different types.
like
So
a psychic bath. You just
Yes.
immerse totally.
So
totally
if
immersed.
you're like at all curious about this stuff, I would definitely try to find one in your area, and because you can try lots of different stuff and see what you like.
Yes.
But that day, we went to the fair. I got a reading from you. I got a reading from this woman named Montana, who's really good, and I got a few others, and then I got one from him, from Robert Blond. And all of you said the same thing. In the past life that he gave me was exactly the same message you gave me,
Wow.
Maureen, and
Wow.
everyone gave me, which was
Pretty cool.
his. I was like a Japanese. I think it's like the 1800s, or maybe before that. But I was like a Japanese, like this really big guy in Japan, and so they made me like a fighter.
Sumo
A
wrestling.
sumo wrestler.
Well, no,
Kind of?
I was like strong. I was
Okay.
like a really big, strong, like virile man, and so they made me a fighter, and I had to do it. But I was like a gentle person inside, and I didn't like fighting. And so one day I just kind of faked my death. I left the battle and like walked away, and they just assumed I died. And then I went and became a monk, and I lived the rest of my life
Wow.
as a
Pretty
monk.
Cool.
But the message I needed, which is the same message you gave me, was you have the spirit of a warrior inside you. So don't forget you're strong.
That's right.
So it was really interesting because it just lined up with everything else
Wow.
I got that day.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
What's your take on past lives?
Yeah.
Ken?
Have you experienced any? Or
I used to do regressions for people. I've done 1,000 or so. The thing we always did was you had to find your feet.
right. So to know
so-
what your male, female,
Yeah,
where you were.
and so that we would just regress people to where they could find their feet, and if they could find their feet, then they could step into that body and be there wherever that was, and information would come from there. We think it might be yes or no information. It's not. It's impressions. It's what you felt was important at a certain time of your life, which may not be important now. There are so many things that come in. You're just opening a whole new world of information there, and there's not simple answers that come from it. It's your whole previous life up to this point. So there's no easy discussion about it. Anybody that tells me that I got a reading and they give me a one-sentence thing of what they got out of it, I realize they probably didn't get a reading. Because it has so much more to do with all of you, all of your being, all of your... If you go to one past life, you've had to go through that doorway, which leads to all the other
Right.
ones.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're all there looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So while you're doing this, you have this whole other history that's trying to help you decide what's important in this one. But to me, the technique, though, is simply find your feet. People light hypnosis, relax people, count them down, then help their visual. And after you get certain relaxed, you can visualize a lot more easily. And have them see their feet. Find your feet. There's no emotion.
And then what do you mean by that exactly?
Literally look down at your feet.
And then walk into that past life?
And when you can find those, well, there's no emotional value to feet usually. So it's not my grandpa killing me, it's my feet.
So if you look at your feet and you got like these handmade boots on.
Right,
or
okay.
you
then-
have
Right.
no shoes.
Tells you kind of
It
like
tells
if
you
you're a
the
man or a
era.
woman.
Feet,
Yeah. an
feet are
era.
connected to legs,
Right.
so you just follow it up the
Right.
body,
That's cool.
and pretty soon you'll find a mirror or some water reflective or whatever,
okay.
or someone else's eyes, and you'll get to get an idea of what you look like. That's not really the most important thing. Our egos get totally involved in our appearance, so I try to stay away from that. Just what was important to you at that life. When I've had regressions done on me, I got hooked up in the minutia just completely. What was I wearing? You know,
Oh, you wanted like the.
yeah,
You're curious about the details.
and stuff. What stuff did I know then? Techniques like I was an Indian at one point, so how do I trap muskrat? You know, and that
Interesting.
was the kind of thing that was clogging my head up instead of why am I here?
But it's emotional. Like you really,
well,
what you
it's
want is
daily
like
practical.
the emotional.
And when you step back
impression.
into that other body, you're doing daily practical. You aren't doing, why am I born? You
Right.
know, you're
Yeah.
not doing that. You're doing, what's for dinner? And so it's actually incredibly non-exciting when you do past lives, because our lives weren't very exciting. 99% of that life, except for the day you died, was pretty damn boring for the most part. And when you're trying to find something exciting, what did I learn from that life? I learned that I'm really bored. And so there's that whole thing that goes on. You know, you have to. There are lives we didn't do shit.
I think like a lot of past lives, I mean, just we're about survival.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
finding
exactly.
food
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sustenance and family and, you know.
And if I sleep right next to somebody else, I probably won't freeze to death.
Yeah, stuff like
And that kind of stuff. You know, you can eat a potato the third day.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that.
Well, the way you're describing it, Ken, it's different than I've heard it described before. It sounds like when you did it, you did it a lot more like analytically. Like it sounds like more
Well, I
of
was
an
going
analytical.
for answers, and I always assume when I'm reading someone, they're going for answers too. There is entertainment, and sometimes if I don't get an answer, I'll fall back on entertainment. But mostly they want answers, so yeah, I am analytical.
But how do emotions factor in for you? Like, I mean, like.
It's what you want directs you. That's the area that drives you through your life. What do you want? You want to know who somebody is? Ask them what they want. If you want to know where they're going to be in 10 years, ask them what they want. You want to know what they've done for the last 10 years? Ask them what they want now that they didn't want 10 years ago. Those are the people will tell you their whole life story just with those answers.
But I mean, for you personally, when you were getting regressed, so you said you wanted to just like, you wanted like,
I wanted adventure.
Okay.
That's my whole
So-
drive for everything.
so the emotion didn't factor in. You didn't want to know like, oh, what did I, like for me, I like to know what did I mess up in that life so I
Oh.
don't make the same mistake again.
Not
And-
so much. I was just looking for experience.
Like
I
a
want
good
proof
time.
that I'm regressed. I've been to therapists who said, "Well, you've got a problem. Let me solve it through regression," and it always seemed really self-serving to me. I was not that exciting a person. I was not a king of Greece. I was, you know what I mean? I mean, all this stuff. I wasn't all these wonderful things I've been told I am by paying people. So I tend to disbelief those kinds of readings, those kinds of past life readings. There's only so many kings. There's only so many blah, 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 you know.
It sounds
Most
like
of us were
you're-
regular folks, you know.
Yeah. Well, actually, about that, because you were talking about survival. So Michael Newton has this really interesting person that he regressed. I can't remember exactly, but it was the story in one of his books. His books are so good because he just has case study after case study of people's, and he
it's
teaches
real.
you about like emotional lessons. So by reading the books, you can learn a lot of your lessons
Right.
just from other
I don't
people's
want to be
experience.
an asshole, but has this guy ever been regressed himself?
I
There's
don't,
the question.
I
See,
don't know.
I
I mean,
would-
I'm
I would
sure
think
he
so,
had, yeah, because
because-
he was so passionate
Yeah.
about it.
I know he's passionate about it, but I have read a lot of these psychiatrists' histories of UFO, you know, of abduction things and all that, and they all seemed really self-serving for the therapist. The therapist seems to lead people greatly, seems to lead them into concepts that they wouldn't have gone to themselves, I don't think.
Well,
Well,
I've been
yeah.
regressed a lot of times, and there was no leading. in
Actually,
That's
anything.
really good.
if you
'cause
read his books
if
and-
you feed that in a
Yeah.
regression, it's
Right,
a
that's
terrible
really
We
thing.
actually
It's
he
unethical.
has a whole book that describes his method, and he
Right.
teaches you how to do the method in the book, and that's the whole thing he's teaching is like how not to lead people.
That's
Right.
excellent.
And
That's,
how not to do all these things.
I would like to read more of that
Yeah.
because that's what I've run into.
Yeah, yeah. He and plus it's not just him doing it. He taught other people to do it. So it's like, and he's gathering all that together. What's interesting about his case studies actually is that so much stuff lines up, and not just when he's the regressor. From everybody, he
Right.
gathers all this stuff, and so much of it, the lessons we're supposed to learn, they line up from so many different lives, and they're sort of spiritual lessons. But what you were talking about survival,
Yeah.
I just want to say this really fast. There was a woman on there who was being regressed, and she went back to this life where she was just like dirt poor. Like it was in olden times, you know, probably like 1700s, 1800s, but they were street people, and she had lots of kids. She was a single woman. She can't work because women can't work, and single women are just like garbage, especially single moms. And she had all these kids she had to feed, and they were like street beggars. But she said that life, she had, it was like the hardest life, but she had more joy than she had in any other life. She felt like the deepest amount of moments of joy, like these moments that were just so deep of joy, because she was just experiencing love, because she didn't have anything to distract her. So when her and her kids were happy and like laughing or enjoying themselves, it was just the purest, deepest feeling of joy. And so it kind of taught her in this life to enjoy, like appreciate the little things, and you don't need this outside stuff to make you
Yeah.
joyful. It's really about love. It's really
Yeah.
about love,
Really cool.
which is really interesting.
Very interesting.
And that kind of helps me when I think about people around the world that are, I'm more fortunate than a lot of people around the world. So, and you kind of feel like, why, and you feel bad about that. But, everyone learns their different lessons and are asking for different lessons. And, people have different hardships. Just because it looks like on the outside that things are easy or that things are hard, they have different joys and hardships than we do.
I was going to bring
Right.
up the fact that, like, we know each other, right? We haven't known each other forever, but there are people that you meet in your life that you feel like you've known them
Oh, yeah.
your whole
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've had
What she
quite
said.
a few experiences like that. I'm like, wow, I'm so comfortable with this person,
Mhm.
or wow, I'm so attracted to them, or I'm like, oh, geez, it's
Yep.
like bang, you're right there. Like it's almost like you pick up where you left off,
Right.
In a way.
Oh, totally.
Right.
And
That's why I
Your
feel
soul
with this
knows.
group.
Yeah, your soul knows.
Well, and the
There
people
you go,
around it notice
exactly.
it too and hate your guts
don't
because
look
you
at that.
immediately have
Yeah.
a connection
I
with
don't
this
pay
other
any
person
attention.
that they
Yeah.
can't make a connection with.
No. It's just
Yeah.
like
I've seen that.
So
I'm sorry.
I believe you. I believe you. I went on this date, right? And I dated this guy one time. I think I told you. And we
This
went
is
to
going out in the broadcast, you know.
I know, but I'm not naming names, you know. So we went to this restaurant. They were packed because they're really popular here in Denver. And I'm like, let's just go somewhere else. But as I'm standing there, I'm holding the door, and this woman starts a conversation with me like I knew her. Like I'm we're talking back and forth. And he turns to me and he goes, "Do you know her?" I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Well, you act like you know her." And I said, "Well, this happens all the time. You know, it's like people will talk to me." I said, I told him, maybe because I do shows or like they have a split-second connection with me because maybe we had an experience in
No,
a
you
past
just
life.
put out such a field.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know.
Well, I know that's definitely like romantically. Like, when you meet someone and it's just
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Like, you're like in
It's
love
bang,
the
yeah.
second you see each
It's
other.
very inconvenient.
Yeah, I agree. But I would say, though, that really feels like you knew them before. You're just
yeah.
it's like you're
I've had
finding
that.
them again.
I wish that was it. To
Definitely
me,
had
it's
that.
just pure lust. I'm sorry.
You know what, Ken? I think you're a little bit of a skeptic about
You're
past
jaded.
lives.
You're jaded.
Which is, it's okay to
It's
have
fine.
that.
Right,
It's
right.
okay to have that opinion. Do you not really believe in past lives?
Oh, I totally believe in past lives. I just don't think that there's a solution to your life now.
Interesting. Do you think that we're trying to learn lessons in each life, or do you think
A little bit. We're mostly here for entertainment. I'm sorry.
That's what you
Entertainment
think?
for who?
For us and others, there are people that observe. You know what angels are. Gee, what do you think angels do all day? They hang out and watch people. And what do people do all day? Live our crazy little lives.
We must be very entertaining.
We
right?
are very
I'm telling you.
entertaining.
And sometimes
we
we're really
have
boring.
drama, we have
Sometimes we are,
passion,
yeah.
we have fear, we have hope. All the things that we look for on TV at 7 o'clock. And it's the same thing for them. We're entertainment. I'm sorry.
I've heard
Interesting.
this opinion from you before. I find it really
I
interesting.
know, it's so negative.
It's
Isn't it?
kind
Sorry.
of negative.
It's
It
just
is.
a
I
different
mean, it's
way
your
of thinking.
opinion. It's
It's your
totally
opinion. You're
fine.
allowed it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's like a little bit of a sad outlook. I think I like to find a little more purpose in what we're doing.
Yeah,
Although-
I think there is. And sometimes I think because having gone through the Life Between Lives
Yeah.
session, and I always knew this before, whether it was intuitively or reading books or whatever, I just knew that there were soul families and we all
Yes,
kind of come
I
together.
do think we come back together. Yeah.
We do, and one time I was doing. It's happened to me twice, where I was doing a healing session on a friend, and one time at the end you don't want to lead them, so you're just like, okay, so did you experience anything? You just
Sure.
how do you feel? Okay, I'm really relaxed, and we knew each other, but not to this level, so she didn't know what my belief system was, and she's like, well. And she was kind of skeptical. She's like, well, we were together. I saw you, but it didn't really look like you, and you were a lot younger than you are now, but I was too.
Wow.
And she said, we were wearing like this white kind of stuff, and we were in a jungle, and it felt like, and it came to me, we were in Peru. I knew it. And she's like, we were just playing these little kids like in a jungle, and there was like these huts. It looked like we lived there. And I knew
Wow.
she was describing a life we had lived together.
And she was just a regular person. Like, she had never had an experience like that
No,
before.
No, I was just doing
Oh,
a
that's
healing
nice.
session
I
on
like that.
her, and she came at her, and she was really skeptical. But I was like,
Oh,
oh, no,
pretty
no,
cool.
that's awesome, right?
But
We
she
started
felt
discussing-
safe enough to talk to you.
Yeah,
about it.
and because at first she was like, I'm not, but then
Yeah.
she started talking about,
That's
and
cool.
once we got in the conversation,
Mhm.
she was way into it. And it happened to me again when I was working on somebody, and it was somebody I knew a lot more, but she pulled up a past life
Wow.
that we were
That's
in
so
together.
interesting that it comes through in your healing.
Right. It
When
just
it
comes
needs
through.
to.
And it's like there wasn't really any significance about either one of these lives. It was just, we were to say, hey, you know what?
It's kind of nice.
I
Like
know who you
Spirit is
are,
letting
right?
you know. Spirit
Right.
is letting you know who your people
right,
are.
who your people
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
That was it. We were
Your
just
tribe,
like,
your
there was just a connection.
Your soul connection.
Yeah.
Well,
and
when
the
our-
fact that she brought it.
When
Yeah, I
our
like
group
that.
met, I thought we all think our group is like very fated because
Yes.
it felt like we knew each other.
Serendipity, like
Yeah.
Ken says.
Yeah, exactly.
Maureen felt like a sister to me, like
Yeah.
right away.
And I had a dream about you.
Yeah.
Like you were my family. You were part of my family, like sitting with me. Like, but I was a lot older than you, so.
Did we
be.
did we look different or did we look like we do in this?
I don't know what I looked like because all I could see was you, and then the family background, like the home. You know, it was old. It was way back.
Oh, so it
Not-
was like a past life.
Yeah, it was a past life.
Yeah, and you said she was sitting on your lap like a little toddler.
Like a toddler, yeah.
Yeah,
you were
like
sitting
Yeah.
there. It was
bouncing
so
me.
cute. Yeah, but you still had that cute little face
Yeah.
and personality, yeah. Same
Yeah.
thing. So you still had the same essence.
Right.
that
You
maybe
just
a
know who it
different
is. You know the
body.
energy
Yeah, you like
Exactly. Somebody-
feel
yeah.
the essence.
Yeah.
Have you, when you've done a past life, have you ever felt anyone that you know in this life?
No, but I've met people in this life that I knew that as soon as I met them, I knew that I knew them before.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I knew them
That's
I knew
really
in
cool.
another context. Well, you just see them dressed different. They're standing
Right.
in front of you, and you see different
Oh,
clothes.
for
Right.
you it comes through like you
yeah,
see
just
it.
boom. Oh, okay. And it's about that long, so you got to be awake. But like when I met her,
Yeah,
it was
I was
the
just
same
going to
thing.
say.
The
I was just
energy.
going to say it. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. When I was cruising, I was literally cruising for psychics, and
It was.
I was vetting people as we walked around. So I just sat down at her table, but that was the immediate,
And I had asked for that, and that's.
Oh, yeah.
Should I tell that story?
Yes,
Real quick?
please tell that
Oh, yeah,
story.
please
It's
tell
so
that story.
cool.
So that morning, well, I had a partner who passed away. I'll be 3 years in October. And he was a musician and very funky and very, he was just a cool guy. But his cancer came back. So I took care of him through, everything in hospice and all of it. And so I talked to him once in a while.
Yeah.
And a lot of good things have happened to me since he passed because he was very practical. So it seems like good things have come into my life. Anyway, so I'm driving last day of the show. I'm like, please tell me, his name was Jeff. I'm like, Jeff, send me some people that can really help me move forward in this work that I love to do, because what else am I going to do with my life? That's all I want to do is help people and do these readings and, give them guidance. And at the same time, it helps me heal also. Boom, that was it. I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the show, these two guys, all of a sudden, boom, it's like they drop out of the sky. And here's Ken, you can't forget his luck with the hair, and I thought it was ZZ Top.
Oh, yeah. He had the sunglasses.
Yeah,
right?
his sunglasses, yeah. And then Eric, and they sat down.
I was drooling a little too.
Okay,
That helps.
I
It
didn't
was
want to
easy
say that, but
talking.
yeah. So, and then he's like, bam, he puts his, I don't know why you put your wallet on the table. Bam, he puts his wallet on the table. Give me your reading.
I
It's
just
like,
want to establish our
A power
relationship
move.
right away.
Yeah, it's like a
I have
power
money.
move.
power move, I guess. And I'm like, okay.
Very masculine.
So I start the reading, and I thought, I got to see this guy's eyes. So I said, would you do something for me, please? He said, what? I said, would you take off your sunglasses? And right then, I could tell you weren't a tough guy. I could see it.
Yeah.
And so I did the reading, and they were like a comedy act. Boom, 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 boom. And he handed me his card, and, then he said he'd get in touch with me later. But
They were at boom, boom, boom asking you questions? Or
their connection, they had a strong connection, him and his buddy. Yeah, they were very,
Yeah.
but we all kind of, it was like this triangle of power and energy and knowingness and fate right there.
Wow,
Like
and
a
you felt
little
it
power
immediately.
triangle.
Yeah, no, it
Boom,
was good.
right
It
there.
was good.
Whoops. Yeah, and that was it. That's how I met Ken.
What
Yeah.
was your experience, Ken?
Same, pretty much the same. I was walking around being an asshole to everybody because I didn't like the guy that does the. That was a different reading. That was a different show, though. The guy
Yeah,
that
it was,
does
it was a different show.
Yeah, it was, and so I'll bitch about him anyway.
Oh,
What the
okay.
hell? Okay, I won't bitch about
Yeah,
him.
please
Okay.
don't.
No,
Okay, I'm
we
sorry.
don't need
I
that.
apologize.
We don't want
Okay.
to.
No.
But anyway, I knew just walking by her, she was sitting there and she wasn't projecting anything. She was just like this, but there was this glow around her, and I got, okay, she's not selling. Okay, she wasn't. There was no sales.
She's
pitch
attracting.
going on. No, she was just waiting, and I could feel the wait.
Just waiting. They're going to show
Waiting to
up.
pounce.
Yeah, where the hell are these guys?
Energetically
Yeah,
attractive.
yeah, yeah. But that was cool because she started reading me, and I was trying to explain. I was tried so hard with Eric. I was trying to explain to him, she's not reading the cards. That's significant, Eric.
Yeah.
She's reading me. She's reading you. She's not reading the damn cards. That's a psychic.
So that's how you knew she
that's
wasn't
not
using-
a diviner. Well, I was looking for psychics. I mean, I can find diviners. But that was it. So and I tried to explain the difference to Eric. Yeah.
Did you
know.
instantly feel a connection with Maureen too?
Oh yeah. But it was it wasn't a boom. It was like a it was that kind
Oh,
of
like a
thing.
comfort.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's
Like
really
I found
good.
my
Yeah,
friend. I found my
yeah,
friend
it didn't
again.
punch me, and there were people there that punched me. You walk by and
Really?
you go, oh,
Wow.
okay. Well,
What did-
what's her name? The NLP girl. I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
I
but
can't
know who
remember.
you're
What
talking
a
about.
character.
She's a character.
But she
talked with her hands. that's
That
what
was a
I talking
punch.
about.
Yeah. And
Very
she had
interesting.
a lot of degrees.
And then you felt, Maureen, after that this was what
It was
you
the
were meant
answer.
for.
It was the answer.
Because then
knew-
because at the beginning of now we're doing the podcast, but at the beginning of your group, I came in later, you can have this idea to have a group of psychics work together.
Yes.
Because psychics don't typically work together. And in this metaphysical industry, I would say, people really kind of feel isolated, I think. They feel like there's like a competition.
It's very competitive.
Yeah, it's very, very competitive. And it's because it's like, it's hard to get, the way you get customers is to get people to trust you. Because how do I choose between one
And the other.
reader and the other? And it's really about trust.
Yeah.
And so that's why it becomes so competitive. But Ken had this great idea, which I think was
Brilliant.
divine. It was your
Yep.
purpose.
That was the
Yeah.
that was the root.
This was the
Exactly, yeah.
purpose for this part of your life, and you to get psychics together. And
Yeah.
and it took perseverance, which I think purpose takes perseverance, because you had to go through several iterations of
lot
your
of work.
idea.
Yeah.
But now we're down to this group.
Mhm.
And so when you met him, he then invited you to be a part of the group, right?
Mhm,
He asked you
yes.
to come.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is so cool. So Jeff brought you
Exactly.
the next step of your life.
And
Right.
Jeff is a musician, and Ken is a musician.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're very much
So there
like
was that
hippies,
connection. I mean,
musicians.
they would have gotten along really, really well. They
Yeah.
really
Well,
would.
she
They-
had an exotic guitar amp with some more exotic electronic equipment, which I had to have.
Yeah.
So I,
But he didn't know that when he met me.
yeah,
Right.
And I didn't know
that. Yeah.
he would be
That he was a
interested.
musician, right.
I mean, it was like, what? And had been sitting there for almost 3 years, the stuff. So
Wow, that is
Yeah.
so
Really cool. Yeah.
That is really cool.
No, to me it's a great story, and I one thing I do badly though is I try to replicate that, and I haven't had any luck doing that.
Because
Isn't
it's
it
fate.
like that commercial, Baby's First Steps. It's only first.
Yeah,
time.
that's
Oh,
such
yeah.
a great
Right.
that's a
My
great commercial.
Yeah, what a great
Well,
example.
His first
Yeah.
steps for me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to duplicate that. But I knew it was like meant
Right.
to be. I knew it was fate.
It just
Right.
felt good.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Ken, I have a question.
I'm
and
wide open.
it-
Anything you want to know, let me know.
It's
Yeah.
truly a question. So your kind of view about
Your
past
lottery
lives.
numbers are 7, 3, and 4. Okay.
What if I played it and it won? We should do that.
Yeah, we should. We should
Um,
go today.
Yeah, exactly.
So your past, you kind of think of, you believe in past lives, but you don't really think, you think we're here not necessarily to learn lessons, but to kind of,
I don't think past lives were there. I think they're still going on right now.
oh yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
that's like the theory that there's no time, of course.
Yeah, I
Right.
think they're right next door. You just
Right.
open the door.
But what I
Uh,
mean is like kind of you kind of have this view that we're just here for entertainment for other people, not really to,
Yeah, I don't know if people's the right word.
well, not people, but
critters.
other critters or
Yeah,
other,
other
you know,
things.
other
Beings.
beings.
Yeah,
Beings.
yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you, because you feel like you have purpose and you're doing your purpose
Mm-hmm.
and you're, I know you and you have this big heart and you really want to,
I'm being helped a lot, though, and I have to realize that. I sit down and get high in the evening. I'm going, Ken, you're just screwing your brain up. You're depleting your energy. You're blowing your memory apart. Why the are you doing this? And another voice says, Ken, you've got so much help and protection now. You could shoot yourself in the foot and you'd be just fine.
exactly.
Uh,
So that's my question actually. So you believe in your purpose
Mhm.
and you believe you have
Totally.
purpose. Your purpose is to help as
Totally.
many people as possible. You have this huge heart.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you kind of reconcile this, like you have purpose and you want to do good, but what's the point of doing good if we're just entertainment?
Really high quality entertainment. Why do you pay for the good seats?
Okay.
Because you emote with the performer, because you become the performer. You enjoy the performer's emotional experience. It becomes your experience. Everybody thinks this is a negative. It's not. It's being
Everybody
entertained-
thinks what's in it a negative.
us just being entertainment.
Oh,
don't
We're
think it's
entertainment
negative,
for
it just-
gods. We're entertainment for angels. I mean, we're entertainment for spiritual beings.
But what's like our purpose? You don't think we evolve? You just think, because a lot of people
I
would look
think
at
you
that
have
as
to
we're like
realize
slaves
who
or
you are,
something.
and I think you're going to keep living here until you realize who you are.
So it is about involvement. So you are saying it's about involvement and learning.
I'm guessing. Yeah, sure, I'll agree with that.
Well, I'm not trying
I'm
to like.
losing this argument.
I'm not trying to
Yeah, you are.
pigeon.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pigeonhole you.
Yes,
I
you
just think
are.
that you
I'm not
like
consistent.
contradict
That's-
yourself
I
a little
know.
bit.
And I'm thoroughly comfortable with that.
And I
Yeah.
wonder if your like idea that, because I don't need you to believe with me or believe what I believe at all, but I wonder if your idea about us just being entertainment comes from sort of like hurt that you've had or trauma that
probably
you've had.
everything's from
you
trauma.
know.
That's what makes you grow. So yeah, I would always fall back on that. It's from some god awful thing that happened. I'm interested in learning, and I'm also interested in being happy.
Yes.
And if I dwell on my pain, I don't get very happy. So I would rather be happy.
Do you think that going into past life regression dwells on pain?
It certainly can, and it seems to me like most people are attracted by that. How did you
Interesting.
die? Well, gee, let's think of a way that's not painful.
Interesting, because I look at it like you relieve pain.
Well, dying
relieve-
does relieve pain.
Well, not just dying, but like relieving, like knowing.
Releasing the energy,
releasing
why do
whatever
I
is.
feel
That's
this
the-
way?
That's just the way
kind of,
I
but we
look at it.
experienced it. Okay, the moment of death, okay, where you know you are dying and you can feel life leaving your body is an incredible instructive experience. And if you go through that once and forget it or incorporate it in your being or whatever, you've lost a great experience. You want to go back through that. That's why you die so many times, so that you have to summarize what you've done, so that this all starts to make a little sense
Summarize what you've done in life.
in life.
Okay.
Yeah, or up to this point,
Yeah.
even life and between lives.
Right.
But to summarize your existence, I guess I should use the word up to this point. And what do you want to do next?
Well, you're
Yeah.
someone I know because I've heard you. I know you talk about your life. You like to evolve as a person. You like to try to be your best. You like to try to learn more.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't you think that would sort of go through like it's a domino effect throughout like all of your lives you're trying to, and then
I
as a
think so.
whole you're
This
trying
life I've
to
had
add
some
and
really
grow.
hard lessons because I didn't want to learn them before. If you don't learn them, you'll get another chance.
Right. Absolutely.
And-
Exactly.
And so, well, I used to counsel dying people when AIDS went through. That was what I was doing. And so I had a lot of friends dying of AIDS. So I got to be around them in the hospitals where they were still shooting them full of all kinds of horrible drugs, even though they were dying. And they weren't trying to save them. It was like chemotherapy drugs and stuff like that because they got Kaposi's cancer, which is what you get when you have AIDS. And going through all that with them, and I got to see how the people, their families that came to deal with them could not deal with them, could not deal with the concept of death at all. And I had to go into, that's one of the skills we're all working on here, is to go into another person's body and feel their feelings as though they're your own. And so I did that with the people that we're over a bed, not much bigger than this, talking about Bob here, who looks like he's been dead for a week already. And we're talking about how good he looks and how next summer we're going to Florida, and all this was this total bullshit. They're total in denial of what's going on in front of them. And I had to realize that that's their own death they're afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
they're seeing their own death there, and that's why they cannot go there. And the cruel part of me says they'll get another chance.
Right. Absolutely.
and-
That's kind
Well,
of
you
one
hit on
of the
something
blessings.
interesting, that
Yeah,
if
in
you
my-
don't learn your lesson,
Right.
you know that from astrology.
Right,
That's
and
in
it's in your
astrology
astrology. You can, you can. If there's certain things that you really wanted to learn the last time, or maybe the time before that, but at some point, if you didn't learn that, you are given the chance to learn it in this life. There's an
Yeah.
Well,
opportunity.
not given the chance, but
and quite
forced.
Forced, right? The opportunity is going to happen, and you're gonna.
And quite
and
often you
you're
learn it
gonna
through
learn
pain. That's-
Well, sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
Would
but
you
if you learn it,
say-
so there's this wonderful spiritual teacher. Her name is Carolyn Mace, and she talks about learning lessons. That we all came to learn our lessons, whatever they are, whatever we chose to learn. But you can learn them the hard way or the easy way. Now I've learned a lot of really difficult lessons the hard way, and now I just ask them like, give me the easy way. And she describes it really beautifully. She says, okay, so let's just say that your angels say you're going to learn about knives. So you're given this knife, right? A knife. And so you can grab it by the blade and you get cut and there's blood and it's painful and awful. So that was a lesson. You think knives are about pain and horrible. It's awful. So that's what you learn and that's what you project onto other people. Or you can get it by the handle side and you like, oh, this is cool. What do I do with this? You learn to make beautiful art, carving or whatever you do with that knife. So lessons can be learned either the hard way or the easy way.
And then you
Right.
can take it through your life.
Right, take it through your
And,
life.
like,
and
I'm
just
going to let this be good for me, or I'm going
Absolutely.
to have like a chip on my shoulder my whole life. kind of.
Exactly. So I learned lessons the hard way before. Now I just, if I know there's a lesson to learn, It's like, oh, I can see this is happening. Oh, just
Asking for it.
give it the easy way, right? Yeah.
In
Wait,
my life, I kind of, and I know in your life, Yola,
Mhm.
I noticed before I woke up to like who I was and, you know, becoming aware of, you know, my soul and who I am, everything was knife side up.
Yeah.
But that was because I had no idea what I was doing in life. And I
Right.
think a lot of people are going through life and you feel like you have no freaking idea what you're doing.
Right.
But then once I started to wake up, I became aware that these lessons were going to come, and I could
Choose.
choose how I was going to learn them, and I
Right.
could choose to learn them, because a lot of people get the lesson and they're like, no.
Stick
I
their
mean,
head in
I
the
did
sand.
that. So then all you have to do is say, I accept that you're trying to teach me a lesson and I want to learn the lesson. And when you are willingly trying to learn the lesson, I feel like you get it easier.
Yeah, and ask for it easy. Yeah.
And you can handle it
Right.
better
Right.
as well.
Right. Exactly.
Let me throw a wrench in all this. What do you guys know about avatars?
Avatars? Like the
To where
movie?
a number of people reincarnate as the same person.
What do you mean? Like,
Okay, you regress people. How many people have been Alexander the Great? About 1 million.
Oh, I don't know. Right. That
I don't know
have
much
no-
about that.
I haven't experienced that at
Okay,
all.
I was working with a regressionist once, and I asked him about that because he was so many people were being at that point. I think there was some French thing, so everybody was Marie Antoinette, and men were entering. I mean, you know, it went on and on, and regressing them because that was what was the, I hate to say it, in vogue thing to regress to at that point. And so I was asking him, and we were actually discussing it. What is that? Can one person reincarnate as many other people? And can a lot of people, when they regress, a lot of people go back to the same person?
Maybe maybe it's sort of like,
Isn't that an interesting question?
It is a variant because now I'm thinking.
maybe
right?
it's
Make
like
my
a
brain work.
sort of like important figures that on Earth, Michael Newton talks about this. And lots of people talk about this. They teach a lesson for the whole world. So if someone's on a public stage, like anybody, a celebrity, a politician, you're learning your lessons through them because you're seeing what they're doing, and you're like, oh, like I shouldn't do that,
Right.
or whatever. You
Right.
like learn a lot just from watching these people, like their lives implode, sort of on
Right.
the big screen. And so maybe when people are tapping into that, what they're really going to is like, that's the lesson they need to learn. So that it's sort of a collective energy,
Oh, right.
and they're tapping in like, oh, this is what it was like to be Marie Antoinette. So they're not actually they weren't themselves Marie Antoinette, but they're stepping into the shoes of what it was like to be Marie Antoinette and whatever lesson they needed to learn. And whoever was at that time, like Marie Antoinette at that time, must have been a lesson that a lot of people needed to learn.
Okay,
Or she wouldn't have become famous.
if I'm a counselor and you're a
Good point.
king and I'm training you to be you're a young king and I'm training you to be an old king, hopefully live for a while, what we do is we invoke your ancestors, the great leaders, the great kings before you, and have you inhabit them, have them appear to you and give you counsel, but also to inhabit you.
Wow.
So that when you go into battle, it's not just you going into
Right.
battle,
You
it's
have
your
this-
whole family.
Right.
And if you're a Viking, it's 20 generations
Yeah.
going in your
Right.
battle with you. They didn't go alone, you know, no wonder they were so brave. But, you know, but that kind of thing. I love those kinds of questions. I do not know the answer.
Right.
I
It's
had a
very
big,
interesting.
I had a
though.
big fight with this guy about it, you know, well, what is it? Can a soul fragment?
Yes.
You know,
I believe so. That's my belief
can
system.
it, you know, how does all that work? You know, and is somebody full of when they're telling me they're Marie Antoinette, or you know, how do I deal with that? How do I treat that? You know, so that was the question with him. I love those kinds of discussions. That's why I love having this crew.
Yeah.
Because no place else in this world can I bring that up.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's so great is like about all of these topics. Probably like really everything in metaphysical or the spiritual realm is we don't have a definite answer.
Right.
No.
Right.
And
right.
really, yeah, so we have our perspectives, and everything's going to come through our own filter as well.
Right,
So
right.
it's
Absolutely.
really interesting.
But I mean, but if a client were to ask you that, well, what about all these people that, you know, who's the big guy now? I can't remember. Who is everybody reincarnating as now?
I have no idea
Uh,
because I don't even.
Yeah,
I
I've
don't
never
pay
heard of
attention.
this.
I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. I don't know.
I'm trying to think who the buzz people are right now because it goes through fashions. I
That
mean,
is very interesting.
there
I might
are
have to do
times.
some research
Well,
on
have
this.
you ever experienced it yourself? Like you felt like you were
George Washington.
Yeah, George.
Oh,
or
no,
or
you've.
no.
I would love to hear from someone who has felt themselves,
Absolutely.
experienced
Boy, I don't think
it.
they're rare. I think
And-
you'll hear the biggest pile of crap you'll ever want to hear. Probably from a lot of the readers that I've met lately, too, is because they're very good at creating alternate realities on the spot for you, for your reading.
So you think the readers are reading them into, or leading them
there's
into
no
it?
legitimacy going on there at all.
Very interesting.
But
very
they're very
interesting.
creative. You're
Well, then
hearing-
what I
you're
would
being
say-
a creative writer. You know?
What I would say is that somebody that wants to learn, wants to be regressed, I wouldn't do it that way and have somebody read you. I would totally go into hypnosis, have
Yeah,
somebody work with you and
I
do
would.
that, because
Yeah.
then it's your own experience.
Boy, the first
It's,
thing I would
it's
do is
absolutely
I
your
would-
What I
own
would
experience.
do,
It's
yeah.
not about somebody saying who you are.
No, I
it's
would
about
go
you
into him first
experiencing.
because we don't want to haul out Attila the Hun who's going to go crazy at the table. You know what I mean? I mean, you know.
You
it's-
would do
it's-
what?
I would read you. I would go into you to find out who these critters are and if they're going to explode.
Oh,
when
you
you're
mean
moving
as a
forward.
psychic, as a person
Yeah,
leading them
exactly.
into?
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Oh,
'Cause
she's
you wanna know
talking
who's
about.
who's on the other side of the door before you open it.
Yola's talking about like giving advice for people who want to get regressed.
Right.
Right. If you want to be regressed, then I would do it the way where you are actually
Yeah.
hypnotized and go in. You
Make
go
sure
with
they're well
somebody-
trained.
Yeah,
I would like
absolutely.
to do that. I would like to have a regression, then talk about it here.
Oh, I will regress you.
Okay.
I can
I
regress
trust
you,
and it's
we will-
about trust.
And
so
my
I
mom,
trust
my
you.
mom she's certified in all the
Right,
hypnosis,
I'm
so that's
certified.
another
I'm
thing.
certified
Oh.
in spiritual hypnosis to
Could,
do
could,
that.
could we see that diploma?
Yeah, I can show that to you.
Nah,
Yeah,
I
and I've
trust
been
you.
regressed, like I said, over 20 times.
Well, I would
Okay,
say
yeah.
this:
Do that.
if someone wants to get a regression, use your intuition. Does this person seem shady to you?
Right,
Do they seem
absolutely.
like
How does your energy, just like when you go to a psychic fair, you walk around and see what the energy
who are
feels
you
like. and see
drawn
if you,
to?
who you're drawn to, who you mesh with.
Yeah.
And
That's the
ultimately-
really
But I
important thing.
think I'm afraid of that because I'll go walk by somebody that I can tell is so full of crap I can't believe it, and there's 3 or 4 people lined up for
Well,
readings.
that's what they're
You know.
not using their own.
No, I'm
intuition.
talking about like advice for them personally. And ultimately, a regression, when you get it, you experience it.
Right,
so
you experience it.
know if you think it's crap or not.
Right.
Because the lady that I got it done with, or one of the women, Lee Mitchell, she said you kind of have this alpha brain, which is the one that sits back, and your beta
Yes.
brain, which is the one that's like chattering and
Yeah.
saying,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
is bullshit. So when you're getting your hypnosis, you kind of have to set that brain aside
Mhm.
and feel it. Don't think it, feel it. Because afterwards, sometimes, like you experienced it in there, and then kind of like when you leave, even though when you were in it, it felt real, and you knew it was real because you felt the emotions. The way I knew it was real, because I was having my little brain go, "This is bull." Like I'm answering her
Right.
questions,
That's
and they're
how
just
I
coming
was.
up,
This
but
is
I
bull-
still had a brain like that was saying, "This is bull." But I was crying as I was telling this story, and I was feeling the emotion of what it felt like to be isolated. It was making me, I was experiencing it,
Yeah.
and that's how I knew it was real. I couldn't fake that. And you can kind of even take the theory for people who are really, really skeptical about past lives, because there's a lot of people like, well, you're just you're like making an impression. You're creating this story in your head about what's going on with you. But even if that's
valuable.
even if that is the
Right,
case,
right.
you're kind of getting a read on how you feel at the moment
Yeah.
and how to
Right.
heal
To
that.
me, that's good.
So it's no matter what your beliefs are, it could be very valuable.
Right, and there's been times when I've been in a regression where when somebody was leading me into it, and I was like, I was just there in the chair, and am I really hypnotized? You know, your brain is going like, right, it's like messing with you, because you know you can get out of it. You're in a safe place. You can just
Yeah.
like get yourself out
Yeah.
immediately. So I was like, I can get myself out of this if I want. Blah 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 blah. Right? I was not
It's
not
like
relaxed.
giving up control. You don't
He's
want
like,
to
right,
like,
and it
Yeah,
was
like
just
a
like I just
struggle.
want
It
to
was
be
the
there, but
straps
it,
on the chair that
right.
bothered you.
Is
Yeah.
this real? But then I was like, okay, just go with it. So then I was just like not really. I was being skeptical, is what it was.
That's smart, though.
But then she asked me a question, and the answer that came out of my mouth was like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" Okay,
Kind of
That's
just
good.
like a
real.
psychic hit, kind
So
of
it
like a
was real.
Yeah,
psychic hit.
it was like that
where the hell
answer
did
that
that come
came from
from?
my subconscious.
Yeah.
Right, that didn't come from this little brain that was over here telling me what was going on. It came from deeper,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, this is real. So then I was just okay, just calm down and go with it.
Yeah.
And just have the experience.
Yeah, that's what I look for, is that look on their face when they realize it's real.
Yeah,
And I go, oh, okay, now we're home.
yeah, it's really nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's half the fun of doing readings, though, is when you hit something that they knew was not possible and watch their face change. And I love
and
it.
Oh,
between
yeah.
the two of you, you know it's real.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's like a
Yeah.
connection.
You're
Oh,
sharing
it's
your
so
own
amazing.
world right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
and,
oh.
and you just I still don't quite know how it happens. I mean, you're just tuning in.
It's
to
the
that
deepest
person.
kind of intimacy, though.
Yeah,
I like
Yeah.
it really is.
Does it just come out of your mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
You
you
just start speaking.
like, it just comes out, and you're like, are you ever surprised by what you say?
Yeah.
Always.
You feel
yeah.
surprised by what you say?
Yeah. And my son says to me, Mom, why are you surprised? I'm like, I don't know. I'm always surprised.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
I,
I'm like,
yeah,
wow.
That's why half the time I say, and I'm full of you know,
Yeah.
I end up after some spewing some stuff, you know,
Yeah.
I'll go,
I don't know,
but,
just-
you know, who knows, you know, so.
Does it sound, or I mean, so it sounds like you guys, would you like to get someone who's really skeptical in front of you?
I've had lots of people
Yeah,
that were
we've
skeptical.
all had that.
Do
They
you
want
like it?
But they want you to prove yourself. or
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
It's
like-
hard for me not to be cruel, though, so.
They sit down. I'm not cruel.
You're nice.
They
You're a
sit
much
down-
nicer
right,
person
They
than I
sit
am.
down with a wall up, but you know they're there. They came.
Yeah.
Right.
They had a reason to come. You didn't
Right.
drag them out of the
Right.
crowd and make them sit
Something
down.
inside of
Right.
them.
Something
Told them to go to you.
Yeah,
Right.
try it. Let's try this.
I start with their energy. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't
So-
do that. It's just, who are
He's
you?
just kidding. He's not going to do this to you
Right,
guys.
he's not. He
What are
doesn't.
you
He
doing
doesn't
over
really
there?
do this.
Stop
He's
that.
just. He's right. See him laughing.
He
He's
just has sort of
joking.
a sixth
That's
sense of
his
humor.
right sixth sense of humor.
He's
Awesome.
got a big
That's it.
sense of humor. Yeah. Yeah. So
That's true.
again, I told the story to you guys. All know it. But this guy, gorgeous guy, sits down. He's like a cowboy, a real cowboy. Anyway, and
A
then
man.
I'm reading. A man.
He's a
And
real
I'm-
man.
He was great. Oh gosh, he was gorgeous. So I'm reading, and
I think we appreciate
I
that.
love. I know. I love going out with her. Right.
but-
She's just
oh
so
my gosh, you
fun.
should, you know. Do you know who he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know who
all
you're
right.
talking about.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know him, but I know. Who
So
you're talking
all
about.
I'm reading. I'm really.
Was he that hot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really with integrity, you know, and purpose and sincerity. And all of a sudden I see this Elvis collar pop up behind his head. And I'm like, you're going to think I'm crazy. I said, but I see an Elvis collar behind your head. And he started laughing. He goes, I used to be an Elvis impersonator. I'm like,
Wow, so
"Okay,
he
that's
was
it."
handsome.
He was so, and he was so grateful after the reading. And it was such a great reading. He came back to the table while I had somebody else there. She had just sat down, was getting ready to read her, and then he came back and he goes, I just want to tell you what a great reading that was, you know. And it's like, you don't get that very often,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
so. But it was fun. That was a fun reading.
When you read people, do you ever have past lives come through to tell? I mean, about for them, like that they might need to hear. Have you ever had that before?
I may have had that, maybe. Or if they're with somebody, I can connect and say, you've had a past life with
Oh,
this
like you
person.
knew each
Like
other.
if they
Interesting.
bring
Yeah.
a mother, brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend, yeah.
Do you ever
That-
read somebody and get more shit on them like 2 or 3 hours later?
Oh,
it's
the
like
time.
an afterglow, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
the microwave of readings. Yeah.
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to-
People should call 6 hours later and say,
Right, that
what else did
happens.
you
You know
get?
what
Yeah.
I tell them? I
Yeah.
tell them like, here's my email, and if something comes up or whatever, I always ask them. I don't go to them. I want them
Yeah.
To
even
want
though
it.
Yeah, I
To
want
feel
them
like
to
they
want
need
it.
it.
So, and I'll say, I'm not going to charge you for that. Just, if you have something within the next few days that comes
Right.
up,
Yeah.
just email me and we can talk about
Yeah,
it.
because
And
this lady
why
we just
not,
read, the
right?
hairdresser lady from Southland and all that, I got so much more crap on her than I was thinking, boy, I'm wasting this. I should have, I didn't get it at the time. I've gotten it since then.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it
very
does
interesting.
happen. It
That
does
happens
happen.
with astrology as well. Somebody I just did a reading for, I did a whole thing and I had a bunch of notes. And she's like, hey, can I have the notes? I was emailing them to her. And I was just kind of reading through my notes, seeing if there was like any
Yeah.
grammatical errors. And I was like, oh man, I didn't get this.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
Click.
sent them, but
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
email I was
yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
I didn't get this at the time, but.
Yeah.
So would
Yeah.
you
That's good, yeah.
suggest
That's good.
if someone
Yeah.
goes to a reader like you guys or whoever, or an astrologer, whatever, and they have a really good experience, they get a lot, would you suggest for them to go back for a second reading from the same
Yes.
person?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, like I'm just saying, another reading 4 hours later would actually
Right,
be,
and because you've already made that connection.
Yeah.
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 I know
It's
when you.
easier to tune in.
But I got to
Yeah.
tell you though,
Yeah.
what was her name? The hair lady.
Oh, I don't want to say.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, we can't do that. I'm sorry. But the things I was getting off of her though was she didn't have enough structure in her life. She wanted to be the boss, and it came from some past life, and I have no idea. But I saw her as a middle world general, officer kind of person who had to control other people and had specific things they had to accomplish, and they died if they didn't get them done. So, so they controlled other people to get stuff done. But they were competent in their ability to do it, but they had to stay on it every minute.
And so that's something that she needs more in her
She
life
doesn't
now.
have that now.
Oh,
and
so that's
she's
a lesson to
missing it.
learn.
There's no connection.
Okay.
I'm
She
going to
doesn't
set
have
up
any
a
control.
follow-up call with her.
Right, I know.
I want her to hear all this.
But
Yeah.
there's I don't know if it was Roman or not, but it was that time
That era?
where everybody was, if you did it wrong, chop.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
so
your
it was-
life
Very
depended on it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I want to do a podcast about next? It's too long of a subject for this one, is children who remember their past lives.
Okay.
There's lots and lots and lots of children before they get to, because they say like around the age of 7, you kind of,
Right.
that's when your memory resets for this life.
Okay.
Or,
You've done that though. You've been walking around little kids, and one will look you in the eye,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
you know the kid. I mean, I know that's bizarre, and I know there's a lot of laws that control that, so I won't get into that. But you know,
His
I
sense
mean,
of humor.
my wife used to teach grade school, and so I would see all these kids. I go to pick her up, and you could, you know, they have a thing called International Baccalaureate, which is a god awful thing. They put kids in where they have to study like 12 hours a day for some length of time, and it sets them up for scholarships later and all that
oh,
kind of
I've
stuff.
never heard of that.
But kids have to decide if they want to take on that incredible task. And there was some kid going on, and I could just see him. He was going to be an ace.
Wow.
And I said,
Very interesting.
you know,
So you knew them. That doesn't happen so much, like whether I knew them, but some kids I'm just attracted to. Like in the
Yeah.
grocery store, I'll just say, hey,
well, you
you
can
know.
see their future, though. You can just see that.
I'm gonna
that
start
track.
looking
It's
for
like
them.
a map. I mean,
Because
boom,
some
there
are just
they
like,
go.
hey, you just wave. Some kids you just
They
wave
connect, but they connect with
to.
you.
Right,
I've
they're
had that.
looking
Very
at
easy.
you, and you
Yeah.
just kind of catch. Oh, you
Yeah.
wave to
And
them,
a
or
lot
whatever.
of times
right?
it's just a
Had that.
nod. It's just
Yeah.
looking them in the eye
Yeah.
and acknowledging their existence,
And they're like,
and
"Hey,
that
Mommy,"
somebody
you know?
else understands.
Yeah.
That's the biggie.
Yeah, and they're like, do you know, whatever. Like
And I
that's
don't think there's
somebody.
any laws against that. So,
I
you
have
know.
to tell you this, but this is like really strange. But I was in like the dollar store, right? I was having a really bad day, and there was this little boy, and they didn't have any help, so the line was like way back. They can't find help in those stores.
Yeah.
But anyway, this baby was just like, he looked like one of the Hummel babies. He was like the most beautiful child. And he was right in front of me, and he was like reaching out his hand. And I would touch his hand, and then he was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And he wasn't even a year old yet.
Yeah.
This little guy had
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I don't know what he's
Like a
gonna
wise
be.
little baby.
Yeah, wise
Oh
little
my
baby.
God, he had
Yeah.
wisdom. Yeah,
Like an old soul.
Yeah.
Old soul.
Very
It was
much.
like, who are you?
Yeah, but
know, I'm
you want to
just like,
welcome though. Welcome to where.
Oh, my
you know,
God,
He was
Maybe-
already healing you, and
He
he's
was
only
healing me.
he's not even
Thank
1
you.
years old.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
you were healing
Exactly.
him too. Yeah.
I don't know about me healing him, but I'll tell you what,
The
he healed
exchange.
me.
You had a connection. There's actually in astrology you can see those
oh
connections,
my God. And
which
I
is really
I
interesting.
told his mom, his mom was pretty young, and she was very practical. And I said, have you ever heard of the Hummel babies? I said, because, the people used to
Yeah.
collect them. And, and
What
she
are
did-
the Hummel babies?
Well, I think they were created in Germany by a nun. She did sculptures. And so Hummels were very popular in the past. People don't.
It's
so
like a
much.
figurine.
It's a figurine of children.
okay.
They're
Read
absolutely
Slaughterhouse
adorable.
5.
Hey, stop that. They weren't like that. So I I pulled this up on my phone. I'm like, really? I'm like the old lady in line. I'm like, showing her. She had no clue. So I'm like showing her, and I said, look, it looks just like. She goes, it does look just like him.
Wow.
I mean, he was like the
very
most
interesting.
gorgeous. But when you said that, I didn't realize what that was. But he was healing me because
Oh,
I was
yeah.
having a really, really, really
and
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
recognized it.
emotionally
And he's like, "It's
bad
okay."
day. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was so sweet. So
Yola
sweet.
and I were at my mom and I were at Target the other day, and there was this little boy. He was just he had these blue eyes. He was just like the brightest eyes you've ever seen. They were shiny, like bright. And I always think people have bright eyes when they're like really open and and he was just staring at me and my mom, and he was like giggling, and he was like,
so
Yeah.
cute.
But
I
there's
could-
certain stuff you can't see too.
right,
Probably
right,
already knows you.
right.
Yeah, follow his eyes because he'll track things that you can't see, and it was just like with dogs. I mean, look where they're looking and see if you can
The
see
cats.
anything.
Yeah.
the cats are always staring at the wall
Yeah.
or the ceiling or
Yeah.
following stuff.
But not every child does that. Not every
No.
child
No.
will connect with. They'll look
No,
away
not at
or
all, not at
whatever.
all.
They're
Right.
so busy.
And some
with,
you don't pay attention
Yeah.
to, like
Yeah,
but
if
there are
there's a
certain
reason
but
to
you
children
pay
see some that are
attention to them,
already
you do.
injured. God, I hate that though. You'll
I
see
know.
the little kid.
You don't want to see that.
That already
Yeah,
have
you
trauma.
don't,
Right.
you
You
know.
don't want
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah,
That's really
the-
sad.
it's already.
It's hard to see.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
you can't do anything about it.
I was
except
going
send
to
them
tell you.
positive energy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to tell, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to tell you before I forgot, because you had talked about that you see, sometimes when you read people, you can tell like a life they've had before. Well, one time my mom and my boyfriend and I went to a reader at one of the metaphysical shops, and she was trying to figure out how we were related after she met us. And I was in my reading, and she's like, that boy out there, he's your brother, right? And I was like, no, that's my boyfriend. And she was like, no, like, he should not
Yeah,
be.
very,
And I was like,
yeah.
yikes.
Yeah, you get really.
It was really
I've
funny.
often thought that about you guys.
But what's interesting, is
Past
when
life,
he had a past life regression as well.
Oh, okay.
Because we all went together, like went to the same lady, to Lee Mitchell, and they each had past life
Might be
regressions,
this
and I
meeting.
had an in between life regression. And in his life, he was talking, because you go to like 3, I think, and so in his life, one of his lives, he was talking about, he was telling us, and they were brother and sister,
Okay.
and I was the mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that's
Was
what
it-
she thought. She thought Fatu
Yeah.
must have seen that because she thought
yeah, that's what she was seeing.
that you were his mom.
Yeah,
It just, when I see you guys together, it just looks right.
yeah.
It's just.
So she,
Good combo.
so she saw that,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
and it was like kind of validated.
Yeah.
At some
Well, you
point,
know
but
what's
she was seeing
freaky
a
too
past
is
life.
my boyfriend and my mom have the same last name.
Yeah.
But they're not related.
We're not related.
I swear.
Wow.
They're not related.
We
but
come
it
from
is
kind of a small town,
This
but
is
yeah,
getting
we're not
kinky.
related, right?
In New Mexico. Was it New Mexico?
Yeah.
I know. I swear we're not related.
Really? Yeah.
Interesting.
Howard
Very
Stern
chat.
here.
Just
Right.
Romero is like a very, very, very common name
Right.
in New Mexico.
That's what you say now.
Right?
Oh, my
Well,
God.
Larry David and Bernie Sanders found out that they are related.
Really?
Just
That's
to throw
so
that in
Larry
there.
David from
Comedy.
Yeah,
comedian.
Cheers.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. He's in
Cheers,
Cheers.
right?
Well,
no.
Larry David was
He was the
Curb Your
writer.
Enthusiasm, and also I think he produced.
He
or did
produced
something with
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
it was.
So they did that DNA thing
Yeah.
on the what do you call it, public TV,
Yeah.
and he's like, okay, turn that page, and then boom, he's related to him. I'm like, oh shit, that's why he played him so well.
Oh, that is
Oh.
so
On SNL.
funny.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to say he could play him on SNL.
Yeah,
but
that
That's
is so
why,
He
yeah,
funny,
because
did.
they are related.
That is
Yeah.
so funny.
Some kind of Jewish line way back. Really interesting.
Very,
I mean, a
very
high
interesting.
percentage
Yeah.
of
Like they're
related.
very related.
Very related.
Yeah.
You never know.
Wow.
And I'm 1.6 Nigerian, 1.6% Nigerian.
You've done your
You've
DNA?
done that?
I did my DNA, yeah.
Very cool.
So did you
I
meet any
haven't.
princes over there or anything? Or?
No. I just thought those sailors got around a lot, those British sailors.
Oh,
The
yeah.
British sailors? Oh my god.
They were famous.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's
Limeys.
funny.
Yeah.
Just being funny. But yeah.
Okay, well, do you guys have anything else you want to say on past lives before we wrap
Not
this up?
this time, but I think we need to do
I think
more.
we have a
because
whole
I-
other
We're
podcast.
We're going to do more because we actually, I know someone when we're talking about the kids that remember.
Yes.
I actually have someone, the mom,
Oh, cool.
like the kid won't come on probably, but the mom will.
Yeah.
She's remembered a few, and her kid used to tell till he was about 5 years old. He used to say all kinds of stuff. He doesn't so much like now, but
Yeah,
he
when they're
did.
little.
Okay.
Well, my
Yeah.
son
But-
used to say he wanted to go back to Chicago when he was
Yeah.
3, and I'm like, we've never been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when are you doing that? Yeah, I
Wow.
know. But everybody has these things. Everybody has things they remember, particularly in their first 5 years, and then we forget them, of course.
Right.
But it would be nice to do a little ritual to where people can remember more of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because while
Absolutely.
we're great for remembering past lives, everybody has past lives.
Absolutely.
So we want to make it accessible by everybody.
And
Oh,
we could
yeah.
do that. You were talking about doing a regression, your method, the way you do it.
Yeah, and it's
we
my,
could-
my way's really quick.
Yeah, and we can do that next time.
I can
because
record you guys both
yeah.
And you could do
doing
it.
one.
I could do it. It'd be longer, but that's okay. We can
Yeah.
we can do that.
I would love to do that.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And actually, one thing I can do too, which was a learnable skill, is we can pinpoint specific areas you want to go to. So if there's a skill you have now, you want to know where it came from.
Yeah.
We can.
Very
Oh, yeah.
interesting.
That's I have
That's
to say something
another
on that.
thing.
But like
Yeah.
you, Maureen, you're like an artist and you're like a seamstress, and you know in a past life you've been a seamstress. My mom's like a seamstress, and she
Even before they had
she's
sewing
had a
machines.
past
Yeah,
life
so-
where she's been a
Yes.
seamstress.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
I was. They called him Taylor. I was
Yes,
a
a
tailor
tailor.
for for royalty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know
Wow.
what country
I
it
think it was
was
a
in,
Paul
but
Simon
I
song.
totally
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
why the skills that
Yeah,
come easily now, you
Like
know 'em.
gardening. I know you've been you said you were like
A gardener.
you're-
Right,
Well,
I
what
was
they
a
say,
gardener.
Yeah.
just
I
your
was-
hands
yeah.
reincarnated. That's
Yeah,
the
right.
Taylor joke.
I was a
That's
gardener
Paul
in
Simon
some
thing,
other,
but it's,
you know.
Yeah.
And when
Once
you're
again, for
I
royalty.
have a Taylor's
Yeah,
hands.
which
yeah.
was very valid and
Yeah.
valuable back then. It gave you a better life,
Yeah.
probably.
and when you're learning a skill, you can feel if you knew it in a past life. Like if
It's true.
it's a difference
She's
between
right.
am I learning this for the first time or am I remembering
Yeah,
this?
it's
Memory
like-
is
exactly.
It's so
and
true.
when
It's
and
so
when
true.
you're young and you don't know any of this stuff, you just do it, and it's like it comes easily, and people
Because
say,
you don't think it's impossible.
right, and well, people are like, you just know how to do. How do you know where'd you learn? The people would ask me, where'd you
just-
learn gardening, or
I
where'd
don't
you
know.
learn about plants?
Just
I don't
came.
know.
It
I
just
asked
came.
the plant.
I just do it.
Yeah,
I-
I think
That's what it
past
is.
life. I guess.
Sewing, same deal. You
Same thing,
probably. I
yeah.
was sewing when
Yeah.
I had my mom's sewing machine. You know, when I was
Yeah.
really young.
But I would do
so-
that. I would actually. This sounds totally crazy, but I do crazy shit. I would regress your hands.
I will do. Yeah, that sounds very. I will.
because your
I'm in-
hands have a lot of knowledge
You
that
know
this
what?
doesn't have up here.
I will do that with you because that just sounds really fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I love this kind of
And your
stuff.
hands tell the story of your
Right.
life. What are your hands
Oh
doing?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And they tell your story of past lives too.
Right.
Because
dated a
how
guy
did you
one
feed
time.
yourself? You know. I mean,
Dated a guy one time and he goes, yeah, but look at your hands. And I thought, what are you talking about? Look at my hands. Yeah, I've worked hard all my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he didn't like the way my hands looked.
well, I would have punched him
Really?
at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
I'll show
I
you a
didn't-
hand. It
I
gets
didn't
bigger
stay with
really
him.
quick.
Really? It gets
Amazing.
bigger
It's
really
getting
quick.
bigger
Yeah,
closer
watch,
to your
watch how
touch.
that works for
You want to see my hand?
Yeah,
right?
well, obviously. we
Whoa,
didn't.
that was not nice.
That was really rude. But he was a pretty pampered guy. He was like,
Oh.
I don't know.
I think
Oh,
that
so
was
you're
his good, that was his good
that's what
point.
it is. He was that part of him was like, wow, she's worked harder than me. And
Yeah.
Oh, you felt threatened. You
did.
felt threatened.
Well,
yeah,
also she
or
was a
just like I don't
she
know,
was a
maybe
'73
ashamed or
Corvette
whatever,
that
right?
didn't have tinted windows. That
Right,
was
right.
his bitch.
It was pretty, I thought it was awful.
That's
but
just not very
yeah,
nice.
it wasn't right. So.
It was not nice at all.
No.
Okay, well,
Did
I'm
you
gonna.
kick him?
No, I left him.
No,
Oh,
no.
well, that works.
That's good.
Yeah.
you
gonna
probably
go
kicked
ahead
him a
and-
few times anyway, but I'll sleep.
Just for good measure.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because we've been talking about this a really long time, which is great. But I want to get into this again next time.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can have people on. We can have regressors on. It'll be really great.
Well,
Yeah.
I want Yola to
Yeah.
regress me if she will.
So
and
next
then
time
we
we'll
can
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited
Oh yeah,
about that.
that'll be really good.
And you know
It
what?
might be scary, but
No, it's not
I don't think it's
scary.
going to be scary. In the show notes, I will link some self-hypnosises that you can do. My mom does them at home now. It's like a meditation, and you can do a hypnosis into your own past life. I'll link some below from YouTube. And I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything
Yeah,
else?
Sounds
have a
good to
great
me.
weekend.
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.